Hey guys, I'm wore the fuck out, but I'm here. I've been scraping up carpet adhesive for like 7.5 hours today, so been a rough one. Thank you, Bank and Tree. Oh, Bank and Tree.
What you think about when you're born into a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack.
Yeah, it's a wild Disney story.
Latest in a string of controversies that have surrounded the Secret Service in the wake of last month's attempted assassination.
Calm down, viewer Frey.
And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race.
Banking Tree said he resubscribed full throated. That's right. Thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate it. Thank you for the gifted sub. Full throat. Oh, the chicken story, my grandpa. Jesus, what are y'all doing? Full-throated as well? You both can't be full-throated. I think that's a violation of full-throatedness.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is?
What?
Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Will Bird. This is Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. What's happening? What's up? How's everybody doing? Had a Patreon show last night. Had some fun. Talked about Phil. It was a good time. Thank you for joining us tonight. Make sure you like the video, share the video, whatever you can do to get more people here. That'd be great. Started a little bit late. I'm wore out. So like this house at work, this house we're getting ready for like a long-term like lease rental. They like had this. It's a 2-story. So it's got like stairs that go up, hit a landing, and then turn and go up the rest of the way. And they had like these carpet, not like a full runner, but like individual carpet patches, like on all the treads of the stairs. That shit was nailed down. Then it was glued down. And I guess it had been there so long, it was like the carpet backing and the padding had separated from the carpet. So when you pull the carpet up, pull the nails up, pull the carpet up, it's just like this weird, nasty foam and sand and everything you could imagine gets into your carpet. And then that adhesive is stuck. The best way I figured out to deal with adhesive is I've got a little, it almost looks like, in Europe they have a lot of electric kettles. It almost looks like a little electric kettle, but it's a steamer. It's got like a head on it. And it's like a steamer. And you could steam that fucking goo and then scrape it off with a plastic scraper, metal scraper, whatever. The problem is, like, no matter how I've done each step, I think there's 13 steps. I've done each step like 10 times and still go back to it, and it's sticky as fuck. So I don't know. I spent 7.5 hours scraping glue, and I'm fucking wore out. Wore the fuck out. My shoulders hurt. My knees hurt. Everything. I'm old. I'm getting there. Either way, thank you guys for joining us. Sorry about bitching so much, but we're here now. I do have a Disney story to read, but first, I can't believe that I ever supported or watched or ever said good things about this Viva Frey guy. Like, I've said good things about him before. We've watched his reviews on the channel before. I've agreed with him a lot before, but man, he's went full on fucking MAGA retard, Trump cocksucker. He doesn't even give, like, he's supposed to be giving legal advice. And it doesn't even sound legal advice when it has anything to do with Trump or Republicans or Democrats. It's always just pro-Trump. Everything he does is pro-Trump. So I had ignored him for a long time, but he still popped up my feed from where I'd engaged with him before. Then this fucking video pops. Look at this fucking video. This is a video he shares. And he says, well, let me read you the description first. He says, if ever there was a video that warranted the look closely at this video, what do you notice description, this would be it. Look closely at this video. What do you notice? This is actually a video that Kamala's husband posted on X. Now, this is the video. And it has like a caption or something. It says, when we fight, we, and they're all hands are in the middle, right? All hands are in the middle, and then they say the word win. So text says, when we fight, we, and then they verbally say win. So here we go. No, he's got it slowed down. Can you believe this? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? I couldn't believe it when I saw it. The absolutely fucking nothing, right? So the text pops up randomly. This is just a text animation. So when you go into a video editor, you click different text animations. You can make it type out like a keyboard. You can make it zoom in from the side or just appear magic, like fade in, fade out, all that stuff. And they picked a random letter appearance animation. And what that does is you type in your text, whatever you wanted to say. Viva Frey is a cocksucker, right? And then it does it all on its own. It just picks this letter, then this letter, then this letter, this letter. It tries to make it even, where it's like picking one from here, and then here, then here, then here, then here, to where it looks like a smooth transition, right? But his claim is that when it first pops up, even though it's out of order, so the first letter is E, second letter is F, third letter is W, that she's telling you that she's part of the World Economic Forum and she's coming after your kids or something. I don't fucking know. Whatever they think the World Economic Forum does. Watch it again. He's even got it slowed down for you. EFW. EFW. Then all the other letters. So then he takes this disingenuous screenshot that he doesn't tell you that they're out of order. He says it's a heck of a coincidence that it would say WEF, but that's not what it says. It says EFW. If they were going to be this blatant about it, why wouldn't they just say we support the World Economic Forum, or actually have it in order to where it popped up WEF? This is random from your editor. You don't get to pick which letters come up first. Like when you put a video in an editor and you hit random letter generation, fade in, it does it on its own. In case it happened too fast and you missed it, here's the video. It says, holy hell, you are literally telling us who you are and what you plan on doing. This is his post. This guy's a fucking lawyer from Canada, right? It doesn't have anything to do with the U.S. except for vacationing in it. But he's like, holy hell, you are literally telling us who you are and what you plan on doing. You think that's what they... Do you think, if we had to game theory this out, do you think that they just typed out what they wanted and hit random letter fade in? Or do you think that they're secretly telling us that they're part of the World Economic Forum and they're reptilians and coming for whatever you think they're coming for? Which is more likely? This is not a Photoshop. This is a screen grab from the video below. They are literally telling us who they are and what they want to do. Or it's just a coincidence. Like, this guy's a fucking lawyer. He's not dumb. So the only thing that's left is he's taking the Tim Pool approach of just peddling to MAGA. Peddling to Q-tards. Here's the actual video where he hasn't slowed it down and shit. It's like a fucking 4-second video from TikTok. You can't even... It's so quick you can't even tell. Without him slowing it down, would any of you guys even notice what the first 3 letters were that popped up? That's how fast it is. That's how fast the editor is, right? It just pop, all the letters just pop up almost immediately. And it says, when we fight, we win. And this is Kamala and her husband and Tim Walz and his wife, and I guess a son. I don't know whose son this is. Is this... Kamala has a stepdaughter. I don't know if she has a son. And I don't know about Tim Walz's family. Yeah, he has a son. I saw him playing basketball with him. So maybe that's his son. But like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Which I don't. Last I heard, like he was a lawyer but hadn't practiced law in a long time. Somebody told me that. That might not be true. But like, is this it? You have, I know he can't be happy about doing it. And like, if you're a person who's smart, right, and you have to make up dumb shit for people to believe to come subscribe to you on Locals, you can't be happy with that, can you? Like, you might be happy with the money. You might be happy with the vacation it bought you. Like, he's in America right now on a fucking, I don't know, a 2-month goddamn vacation. But you can't be happy with what you do with your life, right? In full speed, you can't even tell what the fuck it is. This is not a Photoshop. This is a screen grab from the video below. They are literally telling us who they are and what they want to do. They want to World Economic Forum? Stepdaughter and a stepson. Okay. I know he has a son. I saw him playing basketball with him. I watched the video today. I guess Tim Walls is like me. I don't answer calls that I don't know the number. Like, if it's that important, you can preferably text me. I hate to talk on the phone. I fucking hate to talk on the phone. If it's an emergency, call me. If it's something that could have been easily communicated through text, I'm going to be pissed that you called me. But I don't answer numbers I don't know. So apparently when the Harris campaign called Tim Walls, they were recording to do like this, you know, where they say, okay, you're the guy. You know, they were recording. He didn't recognize the number and didn't pick up, which I think is another kind of quirky, funny story about the guy. He seems like a likable character, and fucking J.D. Vance seems like he's got people in his basement that he has masturbate every day for his pleasure, but he won't let them come. He's an edgelord. He just has them down there like, okay, yeah. Whoa, stop. Don't ruin your Jesus panties. Gonna smear my eyeliner. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. And then he's got these fucking Rastafarian dread. Look at what the fuck has he turned into? Like, he used to look like a respectable fucking human. Now he's doing stories acting like he's outraged because a Secret Service agent was breastfeeding her kid. I don't know. He's a fucking loser. Anyways, back to this Disney story. This Disney story is wild, and it's probably going to affect some of you guys. Just going to be honest with you, I'm sure it's going to affect at least some of you guys in the chat. How many people have Disney Plus? Wait. Let me rephrase that. How many people currently have ever had, paid for, ever, or have done the free 30-day trial for Disney Plus? So you currently haven't paid for it, you've paid for it in the past, or you've even done the free, there's like a free 30-day trial when you first sign up. You don't pay for the first month, or have ever even done the 30-day. That's Disney's streaming service. It's got all the Star Wars and shit on it, but there was like a free 30-day one, or you pay for it currently, or you've ever paid for it before. It's been out for like 6 years. It came out in like 2018, so a lot of people probably don't even remember they had it. Like, if you've canceled it and don't even remember that it was Disney's streaming service, because Disney used to stream on other platforms. Like, you used to have it, get it for free. Some people get it for free. If you have Walmart Plus, certain phone companies, there's different ways to get it for free. But yeah. So check this story out. There's this guy named Jeffrey Piccolo, okay? And he filed a wrongful death lawsuit for his wife. And it's not like an outrageous amount of, it's not like fucking $10 million wrongful debt, $1 billion. I want to own a Disney park. Like, it's for $50K, which honestly, after paying for my mom and dad's funeral, $50K ain't shit. My dad got cremated and it ended up costing me like $15. Like, we didn't even buy the urn from there. I bought the urn, right? I got an urn. Like, he didn't have a casket, nothing, right? No graveside, no nothing. And it was still like $15K. But so he's filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Disney parks for $50,000. Now, the reason he's filed this is because his wife died of an allergic reaction at the Florida one. That's Disney World, I guess. Yeah. And it says he filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Walt Disney World and Resorts earlier this year after his wife, who's a doctor, so Dr. Tang Suan, I don't know how to say her name, his wife, died in October of 2023, so October of last year, and because she ate at the Raglan Road Irish pub at the resort and at the Disney Resort, okay? Now, she went into this restaurant and explained to them, I have a very, very, very severe, I think it was a nut allergy and something else. Dairy and nut allergy. Okay, so she went in this, she wasn't like trying to fucking do no shit, right? She wasn't trying to pull one over on anybody. She went and said, like, I need to know I have a nut. I think in the lawsuit, they were told that was one of the best places to eat if they had an allergy, but I can't confirm that. But she went in there and told them, like, I have a severe dairy and nut allergy. There's no dairy or nuts in this, right? None. And they're like, oh, yeah, no problem. We have people with that all the time. Like, we understand completely. We have food that you can order that's nowhere near nuts, nowhere near dairy. It doesn't have nut dust on it. It doesn't process with nuts. You know, there's no chance that, like, you're good. So they eat, and they claim that they ordered, so just like any restaurant, they got drinks first. And then they asked the waiter several times, like they would bring stuff up on the order and be like, well, we're thinking about getting this pasta, and you're sure that has no dairy, no nuts in it, right? Or we're thinking about getting this burger that has no dairy, no nuts in it, right? And the waiter told them very many times, it says the waiter assured them multiple times that the order would be allergen-free, okay? Now, he's arguing that the wait staff and maybe the restaurant were negligent and suing Disney for the $50,000 because not long after she ate, they were walking around the park. She had a severe allergic reaction. She self-medicated with an EpiPen that she carries around, was rushed to the hospital by ambulance, and passed away. Okay? So she tried to make sure that there was no nut allergens or whatever, right? No dairy. They assured her multiple times. She was allegedly recommended that restaurant because of the fact that they have these special menus. She asked the waiter multiple times. They went over several different items on the menu, and even her husband couldn't have it, right? Because it's so severe. Like if he had touched her, he'd got in her mouth, or he'd kissed her or something. So they went over every item they ordered and made sure that it was nut and milk-free, nut and dairy-free. And she ends up leaving there. Not long after she leaves there, she has a severe allergic reaction. She self-administers an EpiPen, and she ends up being rushed to the hospital and dies. Okay? Now, that's not the big news. That's tragic. That's horrible. Sucks. That's not the big news. So he's arguing that the wait staff was negligent and is suing Disney for damages exceeding $50,000 per the complaint. Though the litigation is still ongoing, a recent response. So Disney goes to court and files a motion and says, you can't take us to court because you signed, when you sign up for a loan or different things, they have an arbitration clause. Credit cards are a good thing. Credit cards make you sign an arbitration clause saying you can't sue us before you go to arbitration with us. So you can't file a lawsuit against us. You sign this arbitration clause. Instead, first we have to go to a mediator and talk to a mediator and see if we can get to the bottom of this. And then potentially there's ways that you can sue if they violated a breach of terms, breach of contract, stuff like that. Disney says, nuh-uh, you signed an arbitration agreement with us. So they filed motion to have this case thrown out because he's not allowed to sue them because he signed an arbitration agreement. And then so he's like, what? What are you talking about? I never signed an arbitration agreement to go to fucking Disney World. You just buy the fucking tickets, you show up, you go to the place, we do the thing. Did you like slip some paperwork in on me or something? Everybody knows how Disney World works, right? There are no waivers when you go to an amusement park. You're not signing arbitration agreements or anything like that. So he says, when the fuck did I sign an arbitration agreement? And Disney says, 5 years ago, 5 years ago, you signed up for a free 1-month trial of the Disney Plus streaming service. And when you sign up, you have to agree to our terms of service. And in our terms of service on our streaming platform is an arbitration agreement that says that you can't sue us. So potentially, anybody who's ever used Disney Plus, you could go to the Disney park tomorrow and a roller coaster implodes while you're on it. Everybody fucking dies but you, or you're the only survivor, your whole family fucking dies, and you can't sue Disney because you've used Disney Plus streaming service. So their argument is that it says, argued that the case ought to be dismissed and settled out of court because Piccolo are agreed to the company's terms of use, which state that users agree to settle any disputes with the company out of court via arbitration. When he signed up for a 1-month free trial of Disney Plus in 2019, and again, because now when you go to buy Disney tickets, you have to have an account. Your Disney account is linked to your Disney Plus account, right? So your Disney Plus account. So when he signed in to buy tickets, that was with his Disney Plus account, and bought the tickets in 2023, and that clause, you signed it in 2019 when you had so he signed this when he signed up for streaming, and then when he bought the tickets, he signed in with that same account. And because he signed in, if he would have bought them as a guest, or if he'd have made a new account because he didn't have a Disney account, he probably would have been fine. Well, maybe they still might have argued you signed up for this in 2019, but he bought the tickets with that account that's linked, an email that's linked to his stream. Like, this is so crazy. Surely the judge won't go for this, right? These are two separate entities, right? Completely separate entities. It's got to be. Like, one is a streaming service with terms of service, and the other is a fucking theme park and a restaurant in that theme park that served this lady some type of allergen she has. I don't know. Disney's fucking wild just doing this. It says Disney has argued that the terms of use include an arbitration clause that applies to all disputes, including those involving the Walt Disney Company or its affiliates, and that Walt Disney Parks and Resorts is an affiliate of the Walt Disney Company. So what you sign up when you go to Disney Plus for streaming, it just says all disputes for the Walt Disney Company or its affiliates. Right? So that might be fucking whatever. When they produce Star Wars, they produce this, or they have a different production company that produces this. And then they claim that Walt Disney Parks and Resorts is an affiliate of the Walt Disney Company. I don't think this can't stand. On Thursday, in a statement sent to The Guardian, a Disney spokesperson defended the company's legal strategy and said, "We are deeply saddened by the family's loss and understand their grief. Given that this restaurant is neither owned nor operated by Disney, we are merely defending ourselves against the plaintiff's attorney's attempt to include us in their lawsuit against the restaurant." Bullshit. Bullshit. That's a restaurant that you fucking put in there, that you fucking oversee. It's like you're limited with your options, right? It's not like you can fucking go anywhere. There's places in the park where you can leave and try to get back in for another 6.5 hours. Piccolo's lawyers have called Disney's argument for dismissal surreal and added, in effect, Walt Disney Parks and Resort is explicitly seeking to bar its 150 million Disney Plus subscribers from ever prosecuting a wrongful death case against it in front of a jury, even if the case facts have nothing to do with Disney Plus. So 150 million plus, because a lot of people have signed up and left. Or if you just did the free trial, you still sign the same thing. Still sign the same thing if you do the free trial. So potentially much more than 150 million. You could never sue Disney for wrongful death. Ever. If Walt Disney himself comes back to life at a Disney park and blows your fucking brains out, got to go to arbitration. It's crazy. A hearing is scheduled for October 2nd, 2024 at 10 a.m. So there should be a hearing on this. Nothing's been ruled. This is just paperwork has been filed. They filed a motion to dismiss because they're saying that he agreed to settle all this out of court through arbitration. I think they know that a jury would be very receptive to this story. Like, has allergens, does this, does that. I think just he signed it. But he's also the one bringing the suit. It was her wrongful death, but he's bringing the suit. I think a jury would be very sympathetic to this. Like, they asked multiple times over and over again. This is a Disney resort. This is a Disney restaurant. Not owned by Disney, but it's a restaurant inside Disney. And I'm pretty sure, like, on the brochures, I guarantee you that on the Disney, like, maps and shit, there's going to be a place for this restaurant, and it says that it has adaptive menus for people with allergens or blah, 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 whatever. They probably advertise that on their map, because not every place, you're not going to go to, like, a fucking hot dog stand and make sure that they don't have fucking allergens and shit in it. They have to signify what these are. That's just crazy. That's insane. By the way, the medical examiner determined that her cause of death was anaphylaxis due to elevated levels of dairy and nut. So they lied to her about both of them, dairy and a nut allergy. Both of those had elevated levels in her system, which caused anaphylaxis. Piccolo alleges that he and his wife both questioned the restaurant waiter numerous times when they dined, and that the waiter assured them that the order would be allergen-free. That's all included in there. So it wasn't just like they were trying to scam them or something, which I don't think many people would think that once she died. That's just crazy. And then that Disney as a company. Look, if you're a Disney representative and the Guardian or whoever writes this piece calls you just say no comment. Just say no comment, bro. Say no comment. Don't say, oh, well, they're trying to tie us up with this other company. And we're like, meh, fuck that. Sorry about your bad news. Jesus Christ. Wild, dude. Wild. It is what it is, I guess. I don't know. It just blew me away that we would even have to go through this. An arbitration agreement through Disney Plus keep you from a wrongful death lawsuit. That's crazy to me. Anyways, Disney's evil. What's new? J.D. Vance in high school. I'm going to be honest with you. I think we may have had a picture like this, or at least I've seen it in one of the old yearbooks or whatever. But it doesn't help his creepy vibe, does it? ESPN's owned by Disney and Disney Plus. You have to have a Disney account. I think we may have had a photo like this. It is creepy, but it's stupid stuff you do in high school, but it doesn't help his vibes any. It doesn't help his creepy vibes any. Yeah, there you go. Jesus Christ. Oh. What the fuck? Okay, that's interesting, I guess. Have you seen these guys are just, I watched this a while back, but I didn't think people would be interested, but here you go. This is the
Jim Heath channel playlist of 2024 campaign ads.
The underscore real underscore Nick Farner underscore just resubscribed for 7 months. Yo, yo, yo.
No. Okay. Here is the creepy MAGA ad, guys, that are very concerned about your reproductive organs.
This is the Jim Heath channel playlist of 2024 campaign ads.
Us MAGA Republicans banned abortion, but that's just the start.
That's just the start. If Trump gets elected, we want the government involved in all aspects of your sex life.
Way more involved.
Way more involved.
When you have sexual intercourse, it should be illegal to use contraception. No pills, no condoms.
Your genitals are reserved for procreation.
If you freeze 12 eggs, you should be required to have 12 babies, or else you're a serial killer.
This is a crazy belief that some people have, that if you freeze eggs, you shouldn't be able to like bank eggs, right? Those have to at least be attempted to come to a pregnancy. And I'm definitely not a serial killer. They made them so sweaty.
And I'm definitely not a serial killer.
Are you?
My son monitors my porn usage to make sure I'm not self-pleasuring.
So people are like, this is stuff that would never happen. Never happen. What? All these actors are Democrats. They're the weird one. They're the weird ones. You know, this is a real thing. That fucking Mike Johnson. So he just said my son monitors my porn usage to make sure. First of all, there are people who believe all of this shit. There are people that are really creepy about your reproduction. But, you know, Mike Johnson, who was Speaker of the House, still is Speaker of the House, said that he and his son monitor each other's computer usage to make sure that they're not masturbating too much or too often or some shit. What? He said he was happy to report that he monitors his son monitors his, he monitors his son's, and that he was happy he was happy to report that his son was clean. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson admitted that he and his son monitor each other's porn intake in a resurfaced clip from 2022 during a conversation with the War on Technology at Benton, Louisiana's Cypress Baptist Church, unearthed by an ex-user, Receipt Maven. Last week, the Louisiana representative talked about how he installed accountability software called Covenant Eyes on his devices in order to abstain from internet porn and other unsavory websites. He says, quote, it scans all the activity on your phone, on all your devices, your laptop, what you have. We do all of it. It sends a report to your accountability partner. My accountability partner right now is Jack, my son. He's 17. So he and I get a report about all the things that are on our phones, all of our devices once a week. If anything objectionable comes up, your accountability partner gets an immediate notice that says, hey, Jack, your dad's jacking off to midget porn. What is this notification looks like? He says, I'm proud to tell you all my son has got a clean slate. You want to see the video? If it'll let me open it, hold on. Oh, it's because I did this, huh? There we go. Now it's opening. Maybe. Damn it. I might have to go through their shit. When was it posted? Let me see if it'll just open. I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Okay, there we go. Maybe that'll open. It's because I had to bypass the paywall. It's all fucked up.
With Covenant Eyes within your home. And so why is that such an effective tool?
It's him on the right.
Need to put this
off screen behind chat.
That's great question. We probably could have called this more appropriately a war on the darkness of technology, because there are some good things with technology, of course. I mean, you know, the Bible apps we all love, we broadcast our services, you know, on our social media, and there's some very positive things, but there's also, as Clint's pointed out aptly, some really dark things. So Covenant Eyes is the software that we've been using a long time in our household. I first learned about it at, I think, a Promise Keepers event in the early 2000s. I think it was developed.
This is almost as cringy as a video I saw today where a dad gets down on one knee and proposes to a 15-year-old daughter of his with a purity ring that she will stay pure and not be deflowered until she's married.
is the software that we've been using a long time in our household. I first learned about it at, I think, a Promise Keepers event in the early 2000s. I think it was developed in about the year 2000. But it's the largest accountability software that there is, and there's some paperwork out there on the table that I think everybody may have picked up on the way in. If not, go get it. It's a subscription-based, I mean, we don't make any money on this. I'm telling you, we use it, okay? I'm endorsing it because I'm a user. It's about $15 a month, $16 a month, something like that. And you get up to 10 devices. And what it is accountability software. So men in a church, men's Bible study groups will do it. That's how it's presented at.
Oh, my God. Should I download this and have it live tweet out all the porn I watch all the time?
Promise Keepers, but they also mention, hey, when your kids become teenagers, especially if you have boys, dads, they're talking to the guys at this event, you might want to think about doing this with your sons. And so we've been doing that. And so what it does real simply is it has an algorithm and software. It's way above my head how it works, but
that's his claim. He's been using it for 20 years.
It scans. You obviously opt in.
He hasn't masturbated in 20 years, and his son can prove it.
To it, but it scans all the activity on your phone or your devices, your laptop, tablet, what have you. We do all of it. And then it sends a report to your accountability partner. So my accountability partner right now is Jack, my son, right? And so he's 17. So he and I get a report of all the
This is so weird. Like, if you have a porn addiction, you need to seek help. This helps you do this with another consenting adult. Your 16-year-old son adds another fucking level to it.
Things that are on our phones or all of our devices once a week. If anything objectionable comes up, your accountability partner gets an immediate notice. I'm proud to tell you my son he's got a clean slate, all right? Yeah. But we get a report and it says, hey, no activity of concern, and it's really sensitive. It'll pick up almost anything. It looks for keywords, search terms, and also images, and it will send your accountability partner a blurred picture of the image. And so on occasion I get one.
It sends you a blurred image of what they were looking up.
Looking at the one from this week I got on Jack, and it said, this is the only one that may be questionable, and it's this blurred image of two women talking in a live screen thing, and I zoom in and I have to unblur it, and it's two middle-aged teachers.
That's right. Call it the Foxhole app. In an interview Sunday morning, Fox News, Johnson was asked about his history on abortion, including claims that he was opposed to contraception and IVF treatment. I'm pro-life. I've said very clearly, I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I believe in the sanctity of every single human life, Johnson said, but added, I've not brought forward any measures to address any of those issues. However, he didn't deny whether he would vote against contraception. Why do they want to make contraceptives illegal? Can anybody explain this to me? They want to make every drop of seed count. If it's not going in some woman's vagina, you can't have. Why? Of course his son. It's like that preacher's daughter or whatever. Of course his son will rebel. So creepy. So fucking creepy, dude. I think his son's in the military now. I don't know if he went to like a military academy or like West Point or something. I think he's in the military now. But yeah, how fucking weird. How fucking weird. Anyways, so they claim that these people don't exist, that these are like made up fictional characters. There are people 100% that act like this.
serial killer.
Are you?
My son monitors my porn usage to make sure I'm not self-pleasuring.
Just like Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. That's true. You can look it up.
Don't you think that's normal?
Yeah, I do.
It's normal for your son to do that.
You should have a family member monitor your porn use too.
Because pleasuring yourself is very, very naughty.
I'm voting in November.
I'm voting in November. We're all voting in November. Are you?
Because what happens in your bedroom is up to me.
Is up to me and my son. Also, mouth stuff is a sin.
Be sure to subscribe to the
Mouth stuff is a sin. Wow. Yeah. Birth control should be free or extremely cheap, readily available. This is so stupid. Like, they're not even talking about, like, people getting a fluster when they give birth control to, like, young girls or whatever. They're talking about banning it for adults. Like, get the fuck out of here. You have to go give fucking sperm count samples to see how many times you've been masturbating. The fuck?
We continue to learn that J.D. Vance is really not very good at this.
We've endorsed JP, right? J.D. Mandel.
J.D. Mandel held a campaign event, if you can call it that, in Byron Center, Michigan. The idea here was, let's get a crowd out. Let's really get into these critical battleground states and show that JD can motivate a crowd and he has support. And I think 25 people showed up. This was one of the most pathetic events I've seen, and it is a reminder of why Trump and the people closest to Trump, other than, I guess, his two older sons who liked the idea of J.D. Vance, so many of the people around Trump are saying, why did we pick this guy? Here is J.D. Vance attacking the tone of Kamala Harris's campaign, and he's still talking about how she laughs. Kellyanne Conway, Greta Van Susteren, now Megyn Kelly, Neil Cavuto, Stuart Varney, Kevin McCarthy. They're all saying this is not how you're going to defeat Kamala Harris. And here's JP Mandel talking about how she laughs.
She says she's having fun, but while she's having fun, Americans are suffering under her policies. When she laughs during a speech, remember that there are American families crying this very day because they cannot afford groceries. When she does these rallies and does these events and does these fake dances, remember that there are parents who lost their children to drugs or violence who will never see their children move again, much less dance again.
Now, of course, Trump dances at literally every rally. If dancing when serious things are happening is a disqualifier,
JP Mandel,
Trump's disqualified. But who cares, right?
She tells you, and this is her new slogan, we're not going back. Remember that for 3.5 years, that is exactly what we've been doing. We've been going back to a place where Americans aren't kings in their own country, but paupers, begging their government for precious scraps of safety, security, and food. We are going back, Kamala Harris, because of you. And
big crowd there, J.D. Vance.
We're going to fire you because we want to take this country forward.
All right, so finally getting the crowd of 25, literally dozens of people there, very excited by this message. Maybe the funniest moment from this entire thing was someone from the crowd yells, "Fire Granholm." Now, Jennifer Granholm is the Secretary of Energy. J.D. Vance gets confused and says, we are going to fire the Agriculture Secretary. Of course, the Agriculture Secretary is Tom Vilsack. This is great.
What other steps besides drilling can the Trump-Vance administration take to lower those?
None. Drill, baby, drill.
Grocery prices for people.
Fire Granholm! That's right. Well, the first is we're going to fire the Agriculture Secretary, right? She's not doing a very good job.
She's not doing a very good job. Is J.D. Vance misgendering someone? The Secretary of Agriculture is Tom Vilsack. It's a man, baby. Jennifer Granholm is the Secretary of Energy. But who cares, right? Now, the really serious part is firing the Secretary of Agriculture is not going to bring down grocery prices. A deflationary spiral would bring down grocery prices. But why let details get in the way of an applause line, right? Asked also was J.D. Vance about the fact that...
First of all, she's the vice president, not the president. Second of all, Trump had a chance to do all the things that he claims he's going to do too. You realize you're talking to someone you're running against someone who's already been president, right? Just like when he was going to get the reporter back from Russia, and no one would do it but him. Gotcha.
That Trump continues to make personal attacks against Kamala Harris. Vance awkwardly laughs and says he's not going to repeat the question.
Some who want Trump to win in November, some Republicans, they're urging the former president to do less personal attacks on Harris, focus more on messaging, more on policy. Do you agree with that?
Well, look, the question...
Ooh, that breathing, dude. That breathing. Well.
Focus more on messaging, more on policy. Do you agree with that?
Well,
then why the fuck would you say? You could just say about anybody. So you're saying, remember, Kamala can do those things right now. She can't. She's the vice president, not the president. She could ask Joe to do it. She could petition Joe to do it. She could try to get him to do it. But if you're going to say that, then when you say, remember, when Kamala gives those campaign promises, she could already do it. Well, you know, she isn't perfect. She's fucked up plenty of shit. So we're dead even again. Thanks.
Look, the question, I'm not going to repeat that question because it's kind of insulting to our president. So
first of all, what do you mean our president? Our president, you're talking about Joe Biden? He's referring to...
He was in a position to make those changes and couldn't buy the votes.
Donald Trump.
Whatever you're going to say applies more so to him from 4 years ago. Because he was the president, not the vice president. This is a dumb fucking line of argument.
As our president.
Not only that, he's actually stopping things like the border bill from going through by pressuring his friends into not voting for it or voting against it.
They pretend like he's still the president of the United States.
I'll repeat the ones that aren't insulting to our president. Look, here's the answer. To the people who say that Donald Trump should do something different, they had an opportunity to make Donald Trump do something different by challenging him over 3 separate primaries, every single one of which he won. So I think that Donald Trump has earned the right.
Hold on just a second. I'm going to grab water. I just realized that half of my fucking hand is painted. So there's that. I didn't realize I had paint all over me.
To run the campaign that he wants to run.
All right, so he's saying if he wants to insult Kamala Harris, he has every right to do that, despite the fact that every Republican is telling him you're not going to win.
So Republicans are like, hey, this isn't a good line to just attack her and say drill, baby, drill. Maybe you should talk more about policy. And he's like, well, he has a right to do that. They should have beat him in the primary if they wanted him to not talk so much personal shit and talk about policy.
This Trump, you're not going to win like this. JD then claims that Kamala Harris is actually the acting president and Biden isn't really doing anything.
Why did it take him so long to get inflation to where it is? And why are prices so high? It's because Kamala Harris failed to do her job. So if
by the way, fucking JD Vance. Let me see if I can find this. He's going to be the new gaff machine now that Biden's out of it. He is the new gaff machine. They can't talk about his stud. They can't talk about anything anymore. He is it. So Mike Waltz posts this video or this image. Where's Viva Frey when an image comes out like this? So Mike Waltz posts this. He can't do anything right. Trump's definitely regretting this. I don't know if he's vocal about it. Some people are saying behind the scenes that he's vocal about it, but I'm almost positive he's regretting this pic. So Mike Waltz posts this picture, him and JD Vance, and it's the fucking hilarious, I bet Diet Mountain Dew is racist. And he says, ready to campaign with my fellow Diet Mountain Dew fan at JD Vance, right? So this is the image they post. They put it out there. But somebody has got to be fact-checking these images or going through them or something. Because if you look at the newspaper sitting here, it says, the newspaper they happen to have out here, the Wall Street Journal says, inflation hits lowest level since 2021. And they're running on inflation. Their whole platform is inflation's destroying you. It's the highest it's ever been. He couldn't get any fucking higher. Drill, baby, drill. Why couldn't they just turn this motherfucker over, dude? Get it? Mountain Dew's right. Get it? Get my funny joke where that guy was laughing so hard he shit himself. You remember that? Jesus fucking Christ. He can't catch a break, bro. Inflation hits the lowest level since 2021. 2.3 or something. They're talking about the Fed changing interest rates now.
They want to go around, and this is, it's funny. Kamala Harris, on the one hand, will say, on day one, we're going to tackle the affordability crisis. And like I said earlier, Kamala Harris has been the vice president for 3.5 years. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, she's in effect been the acting president, because we all know Joe Biden isn't home.
Oh, okay.
So she's been the one controlling government policy for 3.5 years. She says she wants to tackle the affordability crisis on day one. And then on the other hand, she'll say, well, we've already got inflation under control.
It seems JD doesn't.
Right. Like things where she was talking about price gouging. Correct?
Understand that the vice president doesn't make policy. But if it were true.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Anything she promises she could have already done.
If it were true that Kamala Harris has actually been the functional president of the United States for the last 3.5 years, the economy is looking pretty good. So that would be a reason, I guess, to reelect her. It's a double-edged sword, and both sides are JD stabbing himself because he is very...
That was funny. I didn't expect that to be. It's a double-edged sword. He's stabbing himself with both sides.
Very much not good at this. One other kind of funny moment. Vance weighed in on the price of cars.
Thanks to Kamala Harris' spending policies, the average new car costs nearly $50,000 a year.
So I'm going.
What? What? $50,000 a year on average for a new car. How much are they, bro? I guess he's just saying the average new car costs $50,000.
And then on the other hand, she'll say, well, we've already got inflation under control.
It seems JD doesn't understand that the vice president doesn't make policy. But if it were true that Kamala Harris has actually been the functional president of the United States for the last 3.5 years, the economy is looking pretty good. So that would be a reason, I guess, to reelect her. It's a double-edged sword, and both sides are JD stabbing himself because he is very much not good at this. One other kind of funny moment. Vance weighed in on the price of cars.
Thanks to Kamala Harris' spending policies, the average new car costs nearly $50,000 a year.
So I'm going to assume that he meant the average new car costs nearly $50,000, not $50,000 a year. I believe the real number is that the average new car is $47,000 a year. Now, that's an example where I don't know how much the mean tells you because you're averaging in some really, really expensive cars. But of course, most people don't buy new.
Average can tell you almost nothing, right? It would be, you can manipulate the average so much. If you took the number of all cars, it might tell you something. Here's a way that it might be a good number. If you took the cars, every new car purchased in the United States, and then took the average price from that, because there's not a lot of people buying Lambos and shit. But if you're just looking at every new car that's offered in the U.S. and you're including like fucking Bugattis and Lambos and shit, stuff that you can buy in the U.S., and you're taking the average of that, it could tell you almost nothing. Nothing. Or let's say you eliminate the economy models because those people are price conscious, so we're only looking at people that are just going to buy a new car without considering the economy. Like, you can manipulate that so many different ways. It tells you almost nothing.
New cars. Most people don't buy new cars every single year. Yeah, I have a $50,000 a year, a new car budget. It's just another little reminder around the edges of how terrible he is at this and how he's not connecting with voters in any real way. And I mean, 25 or 30 people showed up to this event. So if I were Trump,
it's mean versus median. So the median would be like you take this whole data set of numbers and you come to the one in the middle. But there's a whole lot more cheap cars being bought than there are expensive. So if we had the median, that would kind of knock off the super cheap cars and the super expensive cars, but there's a lot more cheap cars, so that would drive the price down. If you just take the mean, the average, then it's hard to tell.
I would understandably be saying to myself, why the hell did I pick this guy? I do think he's in too deep, and getting him out and replacing him would acknowledge that he made the wrong choice. I think Anthony Scaramucci made the point last week. So I do expect JD to stay. But he's certainly...
Holy shit. I just looked it up from... So apparently this statistic comes from Kelly Blue Book. Apparently it's been falling since March of 23. It was 1% lower than the previous year, March 2023. This is also 5.4% lower than the peak in December 2020. Now, you guys know what cars were doing in fucking... If we're talking about not sticker price, but actually what cars sold for, you know what cars were doing for COVID, right? Like, people were paying sticker price plus money. They were fucking buying cars sight unseen. You could sell a used pickup truck, a 2 or 3 year old pickup truck with less than 50,000 miles on it, back to the dealership and make money. Like, it was fucking insane during COVID.
Not helping Trump at this point in time. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. We are on the verge of 2.4 million YouTube subscribers. Once that happens, it will be full steam ahead to 2.5 million subscribers. Help us do it. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
Did we see this labor speech?
As his campaign implodes, Republicans desperately want Donald Trump to stay on message. So in response to that, he went off the rails during... Republicans are freaking out about Trump's recent state of bad polling and his sudden self-immolation, and now they're taking to his favorite TV channel to beg him to stay on message.
You've got to make this race not on personalities. Stop questioning the size of her crowds and start questioning.
So I was tagged in a video today that Donald Trump's been telling people not to vote. Why has he been telling people not to vote?
There's a lot going on at the surface level in terms of donors and campaign positions and campaign strategy and the way they're behaving in public. There's a lot that is weird about this campaign thus far. But there's one last thing.
I'm not a big fan of Rachel Maddow. I feel like she's out of touch, but she does have the clips here.
In terms of the weirdness of this campaign that I think is actually quite serious. You probably heard this weekend that Donald Trump told an audience on Friday night that
makes sense, Jessa.
If he's voted back into office this November, they will never have to vote again. He told an audience on Friday to, quote, get out and vote just this time. He said after this time, quote, you won't have to do it anymore. You won't have to vote anymore. He said, quote, in 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good, and you're not going to have to vote. Now, this is not the first time Trump has told a campaign audience that they will never have to vote again once they vote him back in this time. And that is as alarming as it sounds for all the reasons that you immediately think it is, right? I mean, he's positing this like this is a happy thing. Oh, joy, never having the burden of voting again, right? The point of democracy is that we vote all the time. And we like it. That's how we decide what happens in our country. He's promising his followers that he'll end all of that. And it's exactly.
He's absolutely not telling people to vote, Arlie. He's telling people not to vote. You haven't even seen the fucking clip yet. And you're like, here's what he's saying.
What you think it is. But let me also point out something.
He told people, if you vote now, you won't have to vote again. In 4 years, we'll have it fixed. You'll never have to vote again. I don't know how that's voting early, but.
More strange, which has been happening at the same time and it hasn't had as much attention. The day before Trump made those remarks on Friday, he said, you're never going to have to vote again after you vote for me this one time. The day before that, on Thursday last week, he didn't say that people wouldn't have to vote anymore once he was elected this November. No, the day before that, on Thursday, he told his supporters, not that they're not going to have to vote again, but that they don't have to vote this time, that they don't need to vote for him this November.
My instruction, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes.
But Trump cares about the Republican Party, right? He wouldn't say, you just have to vote for me now and you'll never have to vote again because I can't run, right? That'd be silly, selfish, self-centered.
My instruction, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes.
We don't need the votes. I have so many votes.
I have so many votes. He said that on Thursday last week. And it turns out this is something, when you look, he says this all the time now. Watch.
My instruction, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes.
We don't need votes. I tell my people, I don't need any votes. We got all the votes we need. I don't need votes. We don't need votes. We got more votes than anybody's ever had. You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes.
Don't worry about voting.
Don't worry about voting. We got plenty of votes. We don't need the votes. We got tons of votes. We don't need the votes. Weird.
Of all the weirdness around this campaign, this is a truly strange thing to tell people, right? Don't vote. I don't need your vote. I don't want your vote. I mean, all the surface level weirdness is, worth noting. Having a new position on literally anything you can think of as soon as any random rich guy tells you to. That's a weird thing. Picking the eccentric billionaire's intern for your running mate, even though you apparently had no idea who he was or what a disaster he is on television. All of this is weird. But telling voters, do not bother to vote for me. It doesn't matter if you do. I don't need your votes. That is a thing that should prick up your ears. Because what that means is that he doesn't think he needs to win the vote to win the election. He doesn't think he needs to win the election in order to take power. He thinks something other than votes is going to determine whether or not he gets back in
this would be great for Phil's audience.
The White House. At Rolling Stone today, they profile 70 different election officials who have been put into position in the swing states of Arizona.
This was a crazy story. We read this crazy fucking story.
Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, who are election denialists, committed election denialists. Officials that have been put in place in all of those swing states to make sure that election results, no matter what they are, do not get certified in those states this year. Quote, at least 22 of these election officials have already refused or delayed certification processes.
I don't know why we do all this. So we give so little allowance on what anybody else says that when Trump fucks up and says something retarded, we're like, oh, what he really meant is this. And you could take that and go back and look, and you could just write that in because that's what he really meant. But if anybody else says something, they're like, no, this is what they mean. They said it. You heard them say it. That's what they mean. Not Trump. What he really meant is
in recent elections. According to Democratic election lawyer Mark Elias, quote, I think we are going to see mass refusals to certify the election in November. Quote, Republicans are counting on not just that they can disrupt the election in big counties, they're counting on the fact that if they don't certify in several small counties, you can't certify statewide.
That's what we've been talking about, not certifying.
70 officials in place across just the swing states. For all the surface level weird behavior and language and strange choices and incoherence and odd donors in the Republican campaign, the serious core at the heart of it,
like the secret WF messaging,
counted as normal. They are not counting on the election results being tallied as normal. They are not counting on the.
I don't know if that's the reason he's saying this, or I don't know why he would be saying it. Maybe he's just trying to act like the cool guy who knows he already won.
Vote. And in fact, Trump is now repeatedly saying the vote will not matter. He doesn't even want your vote. The Republicans are counting on the election results not being certified, thereby creating chaos in Washington around the results. Just like 2020, right? Just like January 6, 2021, except this time with no Mike Pence in the way and with Republican officials.
Right. He surrounds himself with yes men. You cannot tell Trump no. You can't tell him it's a bad idea. It's just, it's career suicide, right? He'll give you a nickname and nobody will ever fucking support you again.
Already in place in multiple states saying.
Plus, you're already kind of fucking casting your lot when you throw in with Trump. So when you go on Team Trump, right, you're already basically co-signing all of his other stupid shit. So you've already eliminated half the people you could fucking work for. And then once you tell Trump no, or you can't do this, or you shouldn't do this once, and then he chastises you, you're just on the outs. You're done.
Yeah, you may not get any sort of official vote. The weirdness of this campaign is astonishing 99 days out. The dislocation from real campaigning, though, the dislocation from actually asking people for their votes, that means something. It means they are not trying to win this thing in a normal way. So 99 days out, as Democrats stand up what by all accounts looks like a juggernaut traditional campaign under Kamala Harris, are they prepared for this level of weirdness after the votes are cast? Are they ready for what's coming?
Could get rough. I've been saying that I think there will be places that refuse to certify, even if they don't see anything in there. They'll claim that, because there's going to be all these videos, there's going to be people claiming this was cheating, that was cheating, I saw a mule, I did this, I saw a drop box. Even if nothing happened in their county, they'll not certify and say, well, we shouldn't certify because we saw a video on social media of something happening in Michigan, and that could happen in Texas too. And there'll be people that try to do this for Trump, thinking that they need to for whatever reason. They're fucking brainwashed. All of them are. I've seen this a couple times, and I thought it was fake. But it might be real, guys. It might be fucking real. I've seen this a couple times, and I thought it was fake both times I saw it, but it might be real. It says, Donald's MAGA Crunch, a taste of freedom in every bite. MAGA Crunch cereal, $24.99. Quantity, add to cart. Built with Shop Pay, so I can pay it with Shop Pay. It says, Donald's MAGA Crunch, introducing MAGA Crunch cereal, where every bite is a triumph for your taste buds and the American dream. Just like our favorite president, this cereal promises to make breakfast great again. Picture this, crunchy golden flakes that taste like the sweet success of a secure border and a booming economy. Each spoonful is like a victory lap around the bowl with cinnamon swirls that rival the swirl of positive news headlines. Feel the satisfaction in knowing that every crunch supports a strong breakfast economy. MAGA Crunch doesn't just fill you up. It builds a wall of flavor in your mouth that Mexico would envy. Is Mexico going to pay for it? Grab a box today and start your more... It sounds so fake, the way they describe it. What? He's telling poll workers not to worry about voting because he has the votes, but to watch it. No, he wasn't. I don't know what the fuck. You think he's just addressing poll workers in these 4 speeches he's talking? What? Grab a box today and start your morning off with a bowl full of American spirit and cinnamon goodness. Because when it comes to cereal and everything else, why settle for anything less than great? MAGA approved. We got some close-up images here. Then we got Crazy Bernie says everyone deserves free cereal. Pocahontas Elizabeth says the whole tribe loves Fraudy Flakes or Frauder Flakes. Then we got Frauder Flakes with Joe Biden. And it says Sleepy Joe's Frauder Flakes. Sleepy Joe brings you your favorite breakfast of leftist. This ain't no corn pops because they are bad, dude. While enjoying a nutritional bowl of Frauder Flakes, test your knowledge by completing the Hunter Crack word puzzle or reading The Legend of Corn Pop included on the back of the box. Don't forget to indulge in Trump's tweets displayed on the side of the box. What's more of a surprise than Joe getting the most votes in U.S. history? Every box comes with a pre-filled ballot. That's right. Don't worry about filling it out. We already did it for you. There's the back of the box. The Legend of Corn Pop. Come on, poor kids. Like this as much as white kids. Wait, I forgot to show you the Trump box. So the back of Trump box got a border wall word search. It's got a MAGA, what's it say? Hunter's Crack word puzzle. Okay, Hunter's Crack word puzzle. Even the fake news media loves this cereal. It's got Trump quotes and some cartoons of Trump. That's the Frauder Flakes. Then we got Pete Boot Edge. Apparently, Trump thinks I look like a cartoon kid from Mad TV. Oh, and I eat this cereal every morning while I watch CNN. Sleepy Joe says, I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. The kids used to come and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight and watch the hair come back up again. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And then we've got all these people who bought the shit.
Hey, Junior. This is the best cereal Hi, Mom. Hey, Junior. This is the best cereal I ever had. What are you eating? This is MAGA Crunch. I know you're not letting my son eat this bigot cereal.
Look, I mean, it's just cereal. It's just MAGA Crunch.
You're just supposed to babysit and feed him what I bring you.
It's like, it's like...
I would be really, really wigged out if you brought a weird, unknown food cereal item to babysit my kid and fed it to him.
Cinnamon goodness.
He's a rapist, a bigot, and I will not stand for my son eating that cereal.
Even the fake news media likes this cereal. I mean, come on. It's MAGA approved.
No, that's not true. In the first video he plays, we've seen the whole video. He's talking to Christians. We need the Christian vote. I'm a Christian. You're a Christian. I love Christians. Just come out and vote. You won't have to do it again. We've seen the whole video.
If y'all out there in the TikTok world want to grab some of this, click that link.
With me as a Trump supporter. First things first, we must get out of bed and line up our statues. Every morning I like to say the Pledge of Allegiance to the Don. Next, we need a wholesome breakfast, nothing like MAGA Crunch. And a nice cup of orange juice, of course. Oh, this is an old one. We gotta change that.
Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years. You know what? It will be fixed. It will be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians.
Much better. Next, I like to play some Trump brain games.
Followed by, I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good, you're not going to have to vote.
When my brain gets tired, I also like to color. Now we decide the hat of the day. Which one do you like best?
I think he's saying probably vote for me. You wouldn't have to vote again. I think that makes him a selfish prick because he won't be running again. I think that it's just weird for him to fucking say to begin with. But still, I mean, people can be upset about it.
The white one is always a go-to. That'll work.
The majority of U.S. voters identify as Christian.
Next, as a daily routine, I like to
We've seen the whole clip.
Trump sneakers. Make sure they are still in supreme condition.
Who are these people who do this shit? I've never seen any of these creators. Well, oh wait, this might be Topher.
We already know that.
Is that him?
So there's a lot of craziness going on right now, and we already know that the election was a complete fraud, right? But continue streaming this on the Patriots stand up and don't let this country be stolen. While that being said, these fraud flakes are delicious.
I mean, you can interpret it for him all he wants, but when someone else says something, we give them the absolute worst and as little benefit of the doubt as possible. But when Trump says something, we have to have a goddamn 14 interpreters there to say what he really meant. Well, you didn't check his hand signals. You didn't check. What he's actually trying to say is, well, somebody just told me he was talking to poll workers. Are y'all fucking crazy? I can watch the clip and make my own fucking interpretation of it. If he doesn't explicitly say it, then he left it open for interpretation. He doesn't explicitly say that. He says, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know that. It will be fixed. It will be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good, you're not going to have to vote. He doesn't say, well, sometimes you come out and vote, and I won't be running anymore, and I won't be there. But if you do it this time, because I'm going to fix election machines or fraud or whatever he's alluding to, he left a lot open to interpretation. I didn't shorten it. I read the quote from the video. I haven't shortened anything. We've seen we watched the whole goddamn conference he had. I don't know. I guess these are real, but they're $25 a box. I wonder what company runs them. Newsletter, Fraud or Flakes, powered by Shopify, MAGA approved. They got a Facebook page? Of course they have a Facebook page. Frauderflakes.com, frauderflakes@gmail, brand. Sleepy Joe's Frauder Flakes. Sleepy Joe. I wonder what they think about the people using their likeness. Real cereal fake ballots. Get yours today at frauderflakes.com. They got 3 likes. What type of engagement do they have here? 1 like, 10 likes. Available for a limited time. Get yours today. It seems like it's a real product. I'm not paying $25 for it. They're fake, 100% unnatural. Sleepy Joe. Oh, Black Friday sale. How old are they? Oh, these are from 2020? Where's the most recent post? Why is the website still up? Or did they just give up on Facebook? No, these are 2022. So there's some 2022 ones as well. So clearly they're doing it again. And I guess they did it in the 2020 election as well. Pocahontas Elizabeth. The whole tribe loves Frauder Flakes. Limited time offer. Hurry before, what did I say? Hurry before Joe falls asleep. Frauderflakes.com. Everyone deserves these for free. Crazy Bernie. Come on, man. Poor kids love these just as much as white kids. Available now. A filled out ballot in every box. Doesn't seem like they have much engagement. They have a whole bunch of bots or something. 652 likes, 691 followers. And they're paying influencers to do this? These have got to be like very, very, very small influencers, right? Maybe they're just sending them with free cereal. And that's it. They're not paying them anything. Keep America Great hat. 5 likes. I don't know. No, Randy Quaid. 2 likes. Rolling over. No way, no how. It was a fraud. It was fraud, and more fraud, of course. And no likes. This post has no engagement. What is the benefit of this company? Is someone just doing it because they're big Trump fan? They're not making any money. They can't be. No likes, no engagement. No likes, no engagement. 1 angry face from Deborah Lynn Bowers. 2 likes. No sound on the video. I was going to see if they had a Trump impersonator or something. Very strange. Very strange. What were we watching a second ago? Trump wants Biden back in the race. There was something I was going to click on a second ago and I didn't. What was it? Oh, he called another emergency press conference, didn't he? Oh, wait. What are these? We didn't listen to these.
Dad, do you know what the computer used to hook up to in the 90s, the mainframe? An Ethernet cord to make it Wi-Fi.
That wasn't ether to gas.
Dad, it is ether around.
It's clear if you want it to be clear. It's absolutely not clear. If you just take it objectively. I mean, if you're going to interpret for him, yeah, sure, it's clear. Clear as mud.
Around the earth, that is what we are talking about. An Ethernet cord to make it Wi-Fi.
That wasn't ether to gas.
Dad, it is ether around the earth. That is what we are talking
Ethernet, guys.
Your body.
You mentioned ether. I thought
Dad, it is.
She's yelling at her father. I thought when she starts off with dad, she's usually talking about Trump, electric dad.
Make it Wi-Fi.
That wasn't ether to gas.
Dad, it is ether around the earth. That is what we are talking about.
Okay.
Your body.
You mentioned ether. I thought
Dad, it is ether.
Yeah.
Next.
Dad, they have Wi-Fi. They have electricity.
Wi-Fi
that is Wi-Fi. It goes by the ether, Dad.
Kim Kuckich.
Ether is everywhere. You can tap into it. It's electromagnetic.
Kim, Wi-Fi is a signal that's minuscule. You're talking about electrical current. Which
Dad,
is, of course, much smaller than Wi-Fi.
Dad, with quantum science and the ether, I promise you, I can spin it up and create.
Yeah, you do.
I can create.
I promise you.
Waiting for the reality.
Dad, you know what? Here's a test for you. Here's a test for you. Your body is electromagnetic, dude. It's connected to the ether.
You know what you're falling into?
Jesus Christ.
Quantum science.
Someone is bullshitting you with a.
Dad, Tesla's technology is coming out.
He's trying to tell her.
My flying car named Juniper.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, I am.
By the way, she claims that her whole family knows that she's related to Nikola Tesla and has known about this secret technology that's about to come out, but it doesn't seem like her dad knows about it.
Designing my flying car, Juniper.
We'll fly right over the.
Fly right over the sun, he said. All right, let's check this out.
Wow, breaking news. So last night, Donald Trump and Elon Musk held a disastrous
This is the federal lawsuit that we're talking about from United Auto Workers.
Live stream on Twitter Spaces where there were technical difficulties for 45 minutes. When they finally got it working,
labor charges.
Trump was slurring and sounded like he didn't have his dentures in. And then finally, with the cherry on top, is that something they said during that live stream is getting them sued. This reads, the UAW has filed federal labor charges against Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Yesterday in the quote interview, and they put interview in quotes because it really wasn't an interview, Elon Musk would agree with Donald Trump, would praise him, and then Donald Trump would ramble on for 6 minutes about how he's the greatest, he had the greatest economy, he had no new wars, and then Elon Musk would not push back. He would
Jesus fucking Christ. We don't need you to interpret. We watched the entire segment.
Just agree with Donald Trump. So we use the word interview very loosely here. But Trump said to Musk yesterday, quote, you walk in, you say you want to quit, they go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone. Under federal law, workers cannot be fired for going on strike and threatening.
Almost the vast majority of voters identify as Christian.
Anything to do so is illegal under the National Labor Relations Act. So
you can't talk about, you can't say someone wants to unionize, someone wants to strike, everybody's gone, you're all fired. And he said that. He says that Elon Musk does that, right? You walk in, you say you want to quit, they go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone, you're all gone. So every one of you is gone.
Strike and threatening to do so is illegal under the National Labor Relations Act. So the UAW tweeted out this morning, just a few hours ago, the UAW has filed federal labor charges against disgraced billionaires Donald Trump and Elon Musk for their illegal attempts to threaten and intimidate workers.
The reason people are making a big deal out of it is because he's the one who had to try to overthrow the fucking peaceful transfer of power and seize control with his followers. Obviously, people are going to make a big deal about it.
Stand up for themselves by engaging in protected, concerted activity such as strikes. Now, I will play the clip for you in just 1 second, but this story is wild to me and it gets better. The UAW says it has filed federal labor charges against Donald Trump and Elon Musk, referring to them as disgraced billionaires and accusing them of illegally attempting to threaten and intimidate workers engaged in protected, concerted activity. The union said the two on Monday held the quote rambling, disorganized conversation, and those are just absolute facts, following significant technical delays on X, as I said earlier, the Musk-owned social media platform formerly known as Twitter, in front of more than.
So if you're in a right to work state, they just make up a reason, right? They just make up a reason to fire you. But you still can't even in a right to work state, you can't fire somebody and say because they were going to unionize.
1 million listeners, a lot of them were probably bots, in which they advocated for the illegal firing of firing workers who are striking. These are the two men right here, just beacons of intellectualism, beacons of morality. The union, in a news release, noted that under federal law, workers cannot be fired for going on strike, and threatening to do so is illegal under the National Labor Relations Act. The UAW has long sought to organize non-union Tesla, where Musk is CEO, and the union has endorsed Democratic nominee Kamala Harris in this year's presidential contest for obvious reasons. The Biden administration, which Harris is a part of, is one of the most
So Trump went to a non-union plant, had people show up, and gave them signs that said United Auto Workers for Trump, because the actual union will not endorse him in any way, shape, or form. Even as he's screaming, they want to take all your jobs and make them electric, they still fucking hate him.
Labor pro-union administrations in American history, or in modern history at least. UAW President Shawn Fain blasted both Trump and Musk. Fain and Trump have traded jabs in their public comments on numerous occasions. Quote, when we say Trump is a scab, this is what we mean. When we say Trump stands against everything our union stands for, this is what we mean, Fain said in the release. Quote, Donald Trump will always side against workers standing up for themselves, and he will always side with billionaires like Elon Musk, who is contributing $45 million a month to a super PAC to get him elected.
He's here for us. He represents us, while he's bragging about Elon Musk firing people for wanting to unionize or wanting to strike. Regular fucking factory workers. He represents us. He's looking out for the little guy. He's standing up. They're coming after him because they want to come after us.
Elected. Actually, Elon Musk went back on that, but he is totally right. His point stands. Donald Trump will always stand with the billionaires, with the people that are in his class, and against the working class. Somebody like Shawn Fain, who works side by side with people at the UAW every single day. He's the president. He organizes. He is way better. He's more qualified to be president than Donald Trump will ever be. Here's a clip of Donald Trump talking to Elon Musk last night.
This cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But
this is equal to, like, I wish I was like you, you know. I won't say the name of the bank, but you went in that one time with the mask and the gun and got all that money out and then took it and no one ever caught you. They're saying the quiet part out loud.
know, if you look at Argentina...
Yeah, that is illegal, and I try to stray away from personal attacks. That's not something we do on the show. We only attack policy, but listen to the way these two rich men laugh. These spoiled rich men laugh. It's just so weird and off-putting. I want to play their laughs.
This Cutter, I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go and strike. I won't mention the name.
These are two fully grown men who are blushing and kicking their feet in the air because they are so happy and relieved to talk to somebody else with as much ego and as much money as they have. But yeah, Donald Trump and Elon Musk have repeatedly shown us they don't care about working class people. They actively want to harm working class people and throw them under the bus if it means that they can get ahead. I don't even know if Elon Musk believes half of the stuff he says or if he's just saying it to get lower taxes. I'm starting to believe he's actually just really, really dumb and believes it all. But for a while there, I thought he was grifting as a Republican, which I think is a fair thought to have. So this thread from the UAW.
It's easy to be extremely wealthy and grift for Republicans because that's who they reward, right? That's why they still have their tax breaks and you lost yours several years ago.
Reads, UAW files federal labor charges against Donald Trump and Elon Musk for attempting to intimidate and threaten workers. And there's some good quotes in here. The UAW has filed federal labor charges against disgraced billionaires Trump and Musk for their illegal attempts to threaten and intimidate workers who stand up for themselves by engaging in protected concerted activity such as strikes. After significant technical delays on X, formerly known as Twitter, Trump and Musk had a rambling, disorganized conversation on Monday in front of over 1 million listeners in which they advocated for the illegal firing of striking workers. They then play the quote of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And if you guys watch my show a lot...
Someone asked Destiny the other day, they're like, oh, you're going to be sitting around crying when Trump wins. And he's very, very, very wealthy. He streams from home. All he's going to do is pay less taxes.
You know, I always point this out.
It's not going to actually affect him.
Donald Trump had Elon Musk in the White House a few years back. They took this photo, and then Donald Trump wrote in 2022, when Elon Musk came to the White House asking me for help on all of his many subsidized projects, whether it's electric cars that don't drive long enough, driverless cars that crash, or rocket ships to nowhere without which subsidies he'd be worthless, and telling me how he was a big Trump fan and Republican, I could have said, drop to your knees and beg, and he would have done it, and Elon Musk did that and much more.
You guys remember this one? You guys remember this one? Yeah, they're set to expire. It was for like 3 or 4 years for the lower class and then 7 years for the upper class. They're set to expire. For the wealthy, I mean, most people don't have the yours. Most people's have already expired. They were for 3 or 4 years. It was for 7 years for the wealthy class.
He has since given Donald Trump a full-throated endorsement, even after he said himself, just a few months back, I will not be endorsing either candidate. He said about a year back, Donald Trump will be way too old heading into his second term, or at the end of his second term, he'll be in his early 80s, which objectively, that is way too old for somebody who is already losing their mind like Donald Trump. So the fact that Elon Musk just took it, he literally dropped to his knees and actually begged, and then started a pack for Donald Trump, has gotten sued multiple times for Donald Trump. I want to remind you guys, this isn't the first time that Elon Musk has gotten sued for Donald Trump this week. Just 5 days ago, he's not being sued, he's being investigated by different boards.
So if you're in the top 1%, you would save a tax cut of $60,000. If you're in the bottom 60%, so the little more than half and lower, you got $500.
Michigan and other swing states for a pack that he opened where he is siphoning voter data and tricking people into thinking they are registering to vote when they are not. Elon Musk did that to harvest and siphon data of Republican and Democratic voters, and now he is being investigated. And 5 days later, Elon Musk is now being sued on behalf of Donald Trump. So it just blows my mind that these are two men who are actively working against the interests of the American people and doing so openly by disenfranchising voters, by making sure that people can't even register in the first place, by lying to people about elections, lying to people about the border. Elon Musk genuinely bought an entire platform so that he could spread disinformation unchecked, unfettered, with nobody there to tell him to stop. And then he implemented community notes in an app, but made it so that he is exempt from community notes. So Elon Musk can say whatever he wants about Nancy Pelosi.
You cannot put community notes on Elon Musk's posts. I can't believe that Elon Musk is okay with this. When Elon Musk came to me to the White House asking for help on all of his many subsidized products, whether it's electric cars that don't drive long enough, driverless cars that crash, or rocket ships to nowhere, without which subsidies he'd be worthless, and telling me how, this is after he was banned, or after Elon Musk bought Twitter, maybe. How he was a big Trump fan and Republican. I could have said, drop to your knees and beg, and he would have done it. How can another man be okay with, how can you be okay with this?
White House a few years back, they took these, which objectively that is way too old for somebody who is already losing their mind like Donald Trump. So the fact that Elon Musk just took it, he literally dropped to his knees and actually begged, and then started a pack for Donald Trump, has gotten sued multiple times for Donald Trump. I want to remind you guys, this isn't the first time that Elon Musk has gotten sued for Donald Trump this week. Just 5 days ago, he's not being sued, he's being investigated by different boards in Michigan and other swing states for a pack that he opened where he is siphoning voter data and tricking people into thinking they're registering to vote when they are not. Elon Musk did that to...
So he started a pack with a website, and it was talking about, you want to register to vote, and you click on it, it takes your information, and you may assume that you registered to vote. It asks what state you live in, all of your information, but it doesn't actually register your vote. That's illegal as fuck.
Harvest and siphon data of Republican and Democratic voters, and now he is being investigated. And 5 days later, Elon Musk is now being sued on behalf of Donald Trump. So it just blows my mind that these are two men who are actively working against the interests of the American people and doing so openly by disenfranchising voters, by making sure that people can't even register in the first place, by lying.
Yeah, so if you make less than prominent benefit household incomes 400,000 or more, it should go to 2025. If you make 400,000 or less, it should have went to 2022.
Lying to people about elections, lying to people about the border. Elon Musk genuinely bought an entire platform so that he could spread disinformation unchecked, unfettered, with nobody there to tell him to stop. And then he implemented community notes and an app that made it so that he is exempt from community notes. So Elon Musk
and there's some other breaks and cuts and shit that are still valid in there.
Whatever he wants about Nancy Pelosi or Donald Trump, and nobody is there to check him. So it blows my mind that right-wingers who call themselves patriots look up to two men who want to see our country destroyed. Right-wingers who talk about George Soros conspiracy theories don't see that the call is coming from inside the house because there is a right-wing billionaire who owns a social media platform who is disenfranchising voters, who does all of the things that they accuse George Soros of. Either way, if you enjoyed this video, all I ask is that you leave a like, comment, a blue heart, hit that subscribe button. Most importantly, have a great day yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.
The large corporate tax cuts were permanent unless something changes. That was 35 to 21%. 20% deduction for pass-through income, cutting individual tax rates for those at the top, and weakening alternative minimum tax, AMT. The law cut the top individual tax rate from 39.6% to 37% for married couples over $600,000 of taxable income. It also dramatically weakened the AMT, which is designed to ensure that higher income people who take large amounts of deductions and other tax breaks pay at least a minimum level of tax. The law made far fewer households subject to AMT and typically made those still subject to the provision pay far less, delivering another sizable tax cut to many affluent households. The law doubled the amount that the wealthiest households can pass on tax-free to their heirs, from $11 million to $22 million. That's an estate program. So you can, I guess you can send from $11 million to up to $22 million now tax-free. I wonder what group of people would have $22 million to leave on to their heirs. You think that's the lower class, or it's blue-collar workers sitting around with $22 million they're leaving in the will to a single family member? Hard to say, really. Longtime fan of the show, Tina Peters. Been having a rough week, okay? Been having a rough few years. Long time friend of the show. Convicted in computer breach. Former Colorado clerk Tina Peters, the first local election official to be charged with a security breach after the 2020 election as unfounded conspiracy theories swirled, was found guilty by a jury on most charges Monday. Peters, a one-time hero to election deniers, was accused of using someone else's security badge to give an expert affiliated with She stole someone's security badge and badged in a guy that Mike Lindell sent down there access to the Mesa County election system and deceiving other officials about that person's identity. She lied when they said who was badged in with, Ken's badge. She lied and tried to say it was someone else or hide his identity back and forth multiple times. Linda is a prominent promoter of false claims that voting machines were manipulated to steal the election from Donald Trump. His online broadcasting site has been showing a live stream of Peters' trial and sending out daily email updates, sometimes asking for prayers for Peters and including statements from her. Prosecutors said Peters was seeking fame and became fixated on voting problems after becoming involved with those who had questioned the accuracy of the 2020 presidential election results. The breach, Peters was charged of orchestrating heightened concerns over potential insider threats in which rogue election workers sympathetic to partisan lies could use their access and knowledge to launch an attack from within. The Tina Peters story is fucking wild, dude. She did a little interview here.
Tina Peters, convicted but unconvinced to give the whole election denial stuff a rest. Less than 24 hours after her conviction in Mesa County on several felonies for breaching the election systems there, the former Republican clerk went on far-right media to claim that her conviction is part of a conspiracy to cover up election rigging by people in Serbia.
Oh, okay.
Right now, I'm free until sentencing, but who knows with these people? I mean, they haven't followed the law,
So the only one who broke the law here was Tina. And even after she let this digital expert in, he found zero proof that anything went on during the election. The only one who broke the law was her stealing a badge, badging somebody in that wasn't allowed back there, and then knowing that he was going in there to steal election data. He stole the election data and still couldn't find anything wrong with it.
It's hard to predict what they'll do. I am a big threat to them. Until they either kill me or put me in prison, I'm going to keep speaking out about the injustice.
Peters was convicted yesterday of 4 felonies and 3 misdemeanors after allowing an unauthorized person to get into Mesa County's voting systems. Peters' defense team claims she was just doing her job to preserve election records before a software update could wipe them. But her attorneys were repeatedly blocked from presenting election conspiracies to the jury. The judge said it was not relevant to the criminal charges at hand. Peters could get prison time in the...
It doesn't matter. You still can't let somebody in that's not authorized with someone else's fucking badge and then lie about it.
7 to 22-year range. She'll be sentenced come October. To 22-year range. She could get prison time in the 7 to 22-year range. She'll be sentenced come October.
7 to 22 years to be Mike Lindell's Pretty Little Pony. Jesus fucking Christ. When are they going to learn? You're a stepping stone to Trump, right? He will literally step on your head, drowning you in mud, so he doesn't get any mud on his loafers. I don't know when you people are going to fucking learn. Look at Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell's fucking lost everything. He's broke. He owes people millions of dollars. He's been brought up in fucking criminal cases and charges about the machines and shit. Like, Trump doesn't even mention Mike Lindell anymore. Oh, I wanted to show you that debate. That was on David Pakman. Mike, I think he called him Mike Pillow. At least that was the top. Yeah, Mike Pillow explode. You think that was a typo? His name's not Mike Pillow.
It's great to welcome to the
right. His name's not Mike Pillow. I don't know. I found it funny. Mike Lindell with My Pillow.
It is great to welcome to the program today Ken Block, owner of Simpatico Software Systems and author of Disproven, my unbiased search for voter fraud for the Trump campaign, the data that shows why he lost and how we can improve our elections. And also Mike Lindell, CEO and inventor, founder of My Pillow, known almost just by the single word pillow increasingly in modern society. It's really incredible. Listen, gentlemen, I know that you two have different perspectives on what happened in 2020. And as we think about what may happen in 2024, I think it would be interesting to have a conversation about it. Let me first go because to me, the default is the election was not stolen. So if someone is making the positive case that it was, I think it's fair to start there. Mike, at this point, where do you look? Which states do you point to? What is the mechanism through which you believe the 2020 election was stolen?
Well, I'm, as you know, since the spring of 2021, I've been all about getting rid of electronic voting machines and going to paper ballots and count. It's all about the election platforms. The 2020 election was just the, I guess, the eye opener that there was problems with computers throughout our country, and that was everywhere. That wasn't a, I went and bought everybody's voter rolls for the 2020 election, and for example, in the state of Alabama, I went and met with that Secretary of State. He had 4,600 and some people that voted that were over the age of 110. Now that doesn't mean they voted for Trump or Biden. That just means there's a problem with our computers, because obviously nobody voted at that age.
Okay, so if maybe to focus this in a little more, because I think we would all agree that the rightful winner of Alabama was Donald Trump, and that had no real impact ultimately on getting to 270 electoral votes. Are there states, Mike, like for example, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, which you believe were actually won by Donald Trump in 2020?
Oh yeah, they all were. And when I say they all were, when you have these computers, it's like when you skim off of a casino. You can't just skim one game or even the food or a slot machine. You have to skim them all, or it'll stand out like a sore thumb. As we went into the night of in 2020, got into the early morning hours on November 4th, they stopped everything. That was a deviation. I always look at deviation.
They who and stopped what? Hold on, Mike. They who and stopped what? Just so Ken can respond.
By the way, this didn't happen. Voting did not stop. Counting did not stop.
The election officials in all 5 of them states stopped, including North Carolina. They stopped counting. They said, we're going to stop counting.
You can go look at these official statements. This all came from a tweet. And this guy tweeted out that there were going to be no more results tonight or something like that. And then he clarified this tweet and said, what I mean is they're not going to post. They're still counting, but they're not going to be posting results all night. They're not going to update the results until 7 a.m. in the morning or something like that.
It had never happened before in history. Stop counting, and then we've seen these deviations come down. I'll give an example. One deviation in Michigan would be 106,000 votes came down for Biden and 3,000 for Donald Trump, and they said that was because it was the mail-in votes, when in Michigan they were actually counted on the morning of the 3rd, not in the middle of the night on the 4th. Then you had Pennsylvania.
Well, let's just work with that, Mike. Let's just work with that.
I do want to add one more, because it stands out so big. Pennsylvania ended up with more votes than voters, which has never been addressed, and it's never been addressed.
Well, let's see if we can address it. Ken, Mike's made a number of specific assertions there. They stopped counting the votes. There were lopsided numbers of votes counted. There were more votes than voters in Pennsylvania. How does a guy like you, who was paid by the Trump campaign to look for some of this stuff, how do you react to what Mike says?
So this guy right here in the middle was paid by Trump. Okay, his name is Kim Block, like the race car driver. I want to make sure I had it right. He was paid by Trump to look for these irregularities or these claims that everybody was making that he was cheated. He couldn't find any at all. Zero.
Yeah, so some of the claims require context, and some of the claims require proof that I have to take a look at. But I'm going to try and do them in the order in which Mike laid them out, just so I don't lose track of them.
Yeah.
Mike identifies a problem that's a real problem, which is I like to call it crappy data, for lack of a better word. And he called out Alabama, which, by the way, charges $37,000 for its voter data, which I find
that's what they paid for.
It's an outrageous thing that they do, and it's wrong all by itself. But at least you can get your data from Alabama. You can't get it from Massachusetts or Indiana or New Hampshire.
By the way, whenever you hear people claiming that people that are 105 or 124 years old voted in this election or whatever, he's going to clear that up in a second. But we've always known this. This is bad data. A lot of the voter rolls probably need to be updated in a lot of states. They were always fine until Trump ran, and then suddenly they weren't fine. But they do need to be updated. I can get on board with that. But basically, if they don't have the birth date, or they lost the birth date, or they're not sure the birth date, it enters a standard either 1900 or 1950 or something like that. It makes people appear to be 124 years old when they're not.
Or a bunch of other states. I like to pick on New Jersey when we talk about crappy data. New Jersey has 25,000 voters with a year of birth of 1800.
It's a big crack rock.
8,000 of them voted in the 2020 election, but that's not fraud. What it is lousy data. Computer systems, when they don't know what a date is, if they don't have a date, they will default in a date like 1900 or 1800. So it's important to have some context to what it really means when you have voters who are impossibly old. It often means that election workers don't have that voter's date of birth, which by itself is a big problem, because if you don't know when the voter is born, you can't determine when they die.
So that's super interesting. So on that first one, Ken, what you're saying, when Mike says this number of people over age 110 voted in Alabama, what you're saying is, by virtue of knowing these systems, there's some default birth year that's put in there for people for whom they don't have a birth year. It is a problem, but it's not fraud.
In the case of New Jersey's data, where all of those voters share the year of 1800 for their year of birth, that's what explains it. If you see 1901, 1900, 1850, more often than not, those are default years of birth.
Because they've lost this data, it's been destroyed. Someone entered it incorrectly, and it kicked it out, so it just put a standard year in there.
Well, hold on, Mike. You laid out a few things. Let's let Len. So that's an interesting one on that, Ken. Fair.
Yeah. So, but I applaud Mike for bringing that up and talking about it, because to have really good election integrity, you can't have it if you don't have all of the necessary identifying information for your voters, and that includes having the date of birth.
Okay.
So, and we could have an entire show just about crappy data, but we're going to.
I want to bring up crappy data though.
But wait, Mike, I don't want this to get so lopsided. An opportunity to speak. Let's let Ken at least.
This ties right into what this exact thing before he moves on. One of the things he said, okay, when you say data, one of the things I looked at. This is very important, because this is why I'm involved with everything I'm involved in. In November and December of 2020, I spent every waking hour getting the voter rolls and stuff like he's talking about. Alabama cost me almost $40,000.
And again, he couldn't find anything there, right? He couldn't find any. Steven Crowder came out and just fucking outright lied. I lost any respect I had for Steven Crowder between him outright lying about voter data and the way he treats his fucking wife.
But one of the things I found in the 2020 election, that people had voted in other states or in other counties they didn't live. Now, I had a hard time believing that people in Minnesota said, hey, there's 5,000 of us. Let's go jump into Wisconsin and vote for Biden. People are genuinely good.
So this does happen. He's going to explain in a minute. But this does happen. People are moved. People have done things. People vote in the wrong area. It happens. By the way, yes, please consider supporting the show. You can do that. All the links are at coldbeer.fund if you want to support the show.
People, and you had over 5,000 people that voted in Wisconsin that don't live there, and when they don't live there, these are the things. So is that bad data or what it is?
Well, that's a new claim, though, Mike. In order to try to keep this, I want to try to move sequentially through the claims. 5,000 from Minnesota voting in Wisconsin is a new claim. So let me go back to Ken. Ken, what about, for example, more votes than voters in Pennsylvania?
So,
this was all this was all started by you guys remember that? Was it Doug Mastriano? Was that his name? This was all started by a tweet as well. Using incorrect data that he had the wrong numbers and claimed that more people voted than were registered to vote. But he had the wrong fucking numbers to begin with. He didn't have the right numbers.
I've heard that claim made before. I haven't seen, when you look at the actual number of votes cast, it's not bigger than the number of registered voters. I've never seen an actual official communication from a Secretary of State's office of Pennsylvania that shows.
It sounds crazy. It sounds like a wild claim. When Doug Mastriano tweets it out and says, this is the number of registered voters we have, and he's a fucking state rep, right? Or a senator in Pennsylvania. When he says this shit and shows you a number and shows you a number, you just take it for what it is. It's just not there, right? It's just not there. He was using incorrect data sets. We can read it. Hold on. I need a big file where all this is saved in. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. DOS responds to Republican lawmakers' claim of election numbers discrepancy. A group of Republican lawmakers say they've performed an extensive analysis. Shut up, Google. Say they've performed an extensive analysis of election data, and they found troubling discrepancies. According to State Rep Frank Ryan, Republican from Lebanon, 17 lawmakers sponsored and participated in the analysis. Ryan, who is a certified public accountant, says he discovered discrepancies between the numbers of total votes counted and the total number of voters who voted in the 2020 general election, which is making them question how the results could have been certified by Governor Tom Wolf and Secretary of the Commonwealth, Kathy Boockvar. According to Ryan, the analysis compared official county election results to the total number of voters who voted. Now, at this time, all the votes weren't even turned in yet when they were saying this shit. All the votes weren't certified. So there were entire counties who hadn't even sent their fucking numbers in yet. According to Ryan, the analysis compared the official county election results to the total number of voters who voted on November 3rd as recorded by the Department of the State. Ryan says they found that 6,962,607 total ballots were reported as being cast, while DOS Sure System records indicate that only 6,700,000, so about 200,000 and 202,000 total voters are the discrepancy of registered voters to vote. Among the 6,962,607 total ballots cast, 6,931 and 60 total voters or total votes were counted in the presidential race, including all three candidates on the ballot and write-in candidates, according to Ryan. He says the difference of 202,377 more votes cast than voters voting, together with the 31,547 over and under votes in the presidential race, adds up to a discrepancy of 170,830 votes, which is more than twice the reported statewide difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Pennsylvania's election results were certified on November 24th, and Governor Wolf issued a certificate of ascertainment of presidential electors stating that Biden received 80,555 more votes than Trump. Shit, I got an ad. Hold on. The group of lawmakers released the following joint statement. We were already concerned with the actions of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, the executive branch, and election officials in certain counties contravening and undermining the presidential election code by eliminating signature verification, postmarks, and due dates while allowing the proliferation of drop boxes with questionable security measures and the unauthorized curing of ballots, as well as the questionable treatment of poll watchers, all of which created wholesale opportunities for irregularities in the 2020 presidential election. However, we are now seeing discrepancies on the retail level, which raises even more troubling questions regarding irregularities in the election returns. These findings call into question the accuracy of the Sure system, consistency in the SURE system is that like voter registration check system, right? In the application of the Pennsylvania election code from county to county, and the competency of those charged with oversight of elections in our Commonwealth. These numbers just don't add up, and the alleged certification of Pennsylvania's presidential election results was absolutely premature, unconfirmed, and an error. Now, this was after extensive pressure from Trump. He was inviting these lawmakers there. He was talking to them all the time. This is extensive pressure from Trump. State Rep Frank Ryan, R. from Lebanon, indicated that state legislators sponsoring and participating in the analysis were himself, Reps Russ Diamond, Dave Zimmerman, Barb Gleam, Stephanie Burowitz, Dan Muhl, Paul Schimmel, Don Kiefer, Eric Nelson, Mike Jones, Rob Kaufman, David Maloney, David Rowe, Kathy Rapp, Daryl Metcalf, Jim Cox, and Brett Miller, all Republicans. The Pennsylvania Department of State released the following statement in response to Republicans' claims. So the Department of State immediately came out with this. It says, in today's release, Rep. Ryan and others rehashed the same lack of evidence and the same absence of supporting documentation, repeatedly debunked conspiracy theories regarding the November 3rd election. State and federal judges have sifted through hundreds of pages of unsubstantiated and false allegations and found no evidence of fraud or illegal voting. Now, the legislators have given us another perfect example of the dangers of uninformed, lay analysis combined with basic lack of election administration knowledge. For instance, it is quite common to have significant undervotes for down-ballot races in a presidential election, particularly when there isn't a U.S. Senate race on the ballot. In 2020, Senator Santorum received 200,000 more votes than President Bush, but the U.S. Senate race still had more than 100,000 fewer votes than the presidential race. So some people just come vote for president, right? Easily. We are unclear as to whether the data legislators used for this most recent analysis, but the only way to determine the number of voters who voted in November for the SURE system is through the vote histories. At this time, there are still counties that have not completed uploading their vote histories to the SURE system. These counties, which include Philadelphia, Allegheny, Butler, and Cambria, would account for a significant number of voters. The numbers certified by the counties not uploading of voter histories into the SURE system determines the ultimate certification of an election by the secretary. So they got these numbers before it was all the vote histories were updated. The obvious misinformation put forth by Rep. Ryan and others is the hallmark of so many claims made about this year's presidential election. When exposed to even the simplest examination, courts at every level have found these and similar conspiratorial claims to be hopefully without bias. To put it simply, these so-called analyses were based on incomplete data. And they come back with a statement even after that and said that their numbers matched. So there you go.
That there were more votes that were cast.
I haven't either.
There are registered voters. So, we're not going to.
Yeah, but every state gets to do it different. Every state. So this is one thing that it's hard to balance, right? Every state does their voting different. Every state's in charge of their voting, and they select their electors and they send them there. Even two states split electors, right? You don't have to win all the electors, right? Use a split. If the federal government comes in and takes that over, there's going to be people bitching and claiming that the government's too big, the federal government would cheat, you can't take states' rights away, you can't do this, you can't do that. But if we let states do it, then we're going to have different laws in different states. Every state's going to be different.
We're not going to get to the heart of that one here today. But, Mike, I'd be very interested in talking to you offline on where you get that data from so I can go
It's not the data. It's not the data. It's a fact. You can probably even Google it on the internet. There was over 400,000 more votes than voters. They certified anyway. And as it sits right now, it's about 80-some thousand in the 2020 election, more votes than voters. Like if we walked out of a room, there's 10 of us.
That didn't happen.
It comes back 15-5.
That would be an astonishing fact if it was true. I don't believe it's true, but I want to look for sure. I want to talk about the duplicate voter claim because in my work for the Trump campaign, not only did they ask my company to data mine for dead voters, to data mine for voters who were voting twice in two different states. We did this work for the campaign. We found hundreds of provable people who voted twice. And Mike, you used Wisconsin and Minnesota. Was that the?
No, absolutely not.
No, well, hold on, Mike. Not absolutely not. You said 5,000 Minnesota voters went to Wisconsin.
You're cherry picking. No, you're cherry picking out. I'm giving you examples, David. You didn't sit here and tell me I had to come with all these sheets if you want. I could.
No, present whatever you want.
Easy, Mike Pillow. Chill.
Single state. in the 2020 election had people vote in that state that did not live in that state. That's a fact. You can check it out, every single one. Now, if you go to a county, at the county level, maybe when I check counties, let's say there's 100 people in the county, in my own county, that don't live there that voted. I don't believe that those people actually came in to commit a crime. I believe that their names were taken off the voter rolls. That's all, but done with computerized, done with computer.
Mike, you've made the claim. We have to allow Ken to address it. I think I was probably registered in more than one place at some point, which is completely legal. As long as I'm only voting in one place, I think that's fine. Hold on, Mike. Tiffany Trump, for example, I think was registered in 2 places. She only voted in one. Ken, what about the voting where you don't live? Address voting where you don't live, Ken.
Okay, so there are 2 outcomes in voting.
They have to get Mike Pillow to calm down.
One is you have somebody who lives in Idaho who casts a vote in Georgia. So that's one example of a type of situation. The other type of situation is you have someone who takes 2 bites of the apple. They actually vote in 2 different places. Both of these situations happened in 2020. And when people took 2 bites of the electoral apple, they were committing a felony. When somebody lived in one state and voted in a different state, and I evaluated this specific claim for the Trump campaign, they brought it to my attention and they asked me to review it and vet it to see if it was going to survive legal scrutiny. And the claim was that in Georgia, 15,000 people cast votes in Georgia who didn't live there. And while it's true that there were people who cast votes in Georgia who didn't live there, where it gets tricky is a lot of those people were members of the military, and they were serving at Fort Benning, which is one of the largest military installations in the country, more than 100,000 members of the military.
Ooh, imagine that. They have the largest military installation in the country, and they had the most people voting out of state.
Military work there, and they cycle in and out of there all the time, and members of the military are allowed by law to vote where they're serving. So that claim would never have made it very far in the legal system, because that's the only place where these claims matter. If you're going to contest an election and you're going to try to get the results overturned in the legal system, if the claim isn't going to survive legal scrutiny, it's not a worthwhile claim. In this circumstance, there were more voters identified in Georgia than any other state who didn't live in Georgia but yet cast a vote there, and that maps on top of Georgia having the largest military installation in the country in the form of Fort Benning. So,
Mike, do you believe when Ken says that? Do you think Ken's confused? Do you think Ken's lying? Because he was paid to find this stuff by the Trump campaign.
Well, I got $30 million.
Trump himself gave this guy's company money to find this shit, and he couldn't find it.
In this statement, I paid a little money out of it too, and here's what we did. I didn't concentrate on Georgia overturning any election. This has been 3 years where we need to get rid of the electronic voting machines, the computers. Here's what we did. Pick a county, pick any county.
Could you imagine, do you know, like I know a bunch of people hate voting machines. Could you imagine if everything is paper ballots and hand counted, when we will get results? Not to mention, every fucking time we do hand counting versus machines, the machines are always more accurate.
Pick Carver County, my county. We had canvassers go out. We got the voter rolls from the county, who voted, who was put on the voter rolls, and who voted in the election. We went out and it said it was usually 6 people or more that says lived in a house. Now I lived here all my life. We went down, the canvassers go down, they knock on Amy Schultz or whatever, her house, and say, Amy, you're living here by yourself. It says 7 people here voted. Well, then we look at the names. She goes, no, it's just been me, like always. And we take the 6 people that voted. Now we investigate them. 4 of them live in another state. 2 of them are deceased, okay? So then we take those 4 and we reach out to them. Did you vote here? No, they did not vote there. The people, we contact the people. This is called canvassing to physically back up what the data is saying. And the data says they voted in that county or that state. I'm not here to tell you something to overturn an election. I'm here to tell you.
Yeah, and no one's brought that up at least yet, Mike.
Right.
Mike, in terms of the view that Ken is presenting, though, like, do you think Ken's just wrong, or he is incompetent and couldn't find the fraud you claim exists? Like, what do you hear when Ken says this?
This has took me 3 years, and we also have a lot of other data to back this up. Under the Freedom of Information Act, we were able to get the cast vote records, which come.
He will not answer the question.
For 1/3 of the United States. So we take the.
Why couldn't the guy paid? So you got a guy here that Trump paid to find this. He couldn't do it. Right. Then you got Mike Lindell, who claims he found it all, but he's been ordered to pay for, because he challenged people to fucking disprove his evidence. And even Trump won't repeat Mike Lindell's claims anymore.
We take the canvassing, the on-ground canvassing, and then we take the voter rolls and we combine all 3, and they all 3 match. Now, but the only thing that they match, but the people didn't commit crime. The people didn't go, I'm going to go vote twice. That's not true. You're going to have that, but this is at a massive scale using names with the dirty voter rolls.
I'm telling you right now, if Mike Pillow calls me and asks me where I voted, did you vote here? I'm just going to fucking hang up on him. Like, I'm not answering any questions about you.
Wisconsin has 7.2 million names on.
Trump doesn't seem to support Mike Lindell over the last few months. I don't know if it's because it's bad PR, bad for his shit. I don't know. He has definitely made a turn from retweeting, whatever you want to call it, Mike Lindell stuff to kind of ignoring Mike Lindell stuff.
On their voter rolls, and if every registered voter voted in Wisconsin, it's 4.1 million. Why do they need those other 3 million names?
Okay, that's a good specific question, Mike. That's a good specific question, Mike. Ken, do you think Mike believes this stuff, or do you think Mike's confused?
Oh, I'm confident Mike fully believes this stuff. I mean, he has put his money where his mouth is. I don't think anybody can claim that Mike doesn't fully believe in what he's talking about. So I for that reason alone, I give him credit for his conviction for sure. Again, I'm trying to flow as we sort of jump from.
It's hard to do
one
so,
thing
yeah.
to another. But what I'd like, I'm just trying to pick the thing that I think will have the most impact as we talk.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about electronic voting machines at a high level for a minute. Yes, if you don't protect yourself, you leave yourself open to either external forces hacking those machines or somebody slipping some code in there potentially to alter the count itself, right? There's some nefarious computer hacking things that you can do. There are plenty of protective steps that you can take to minimize and eliminate the possibilities for that.
You live in the villages? Is it awesome there? They seem to be some rowdy old people. Then there seem to be like some normal old people.
I turn to the casino industry to look for that. You have slot machines, which are individual computers, and I do a lot of work with the gaming industry. You can absolutely ironclad protect yourself from ensuring that the wrong software is not running in your slot machines and making other people rich who are just know how to game the system. You have no proof and there's no realistic outcome where a hand count is going to be more accurate than a machine count.
There's no proof, and there's not going to be an outcome where a hand count is more accurate than, I don't care who they vote for.
And I'm just going to let's just talk about Maricopa County in Arizona, because that's been
the stories that come out there about all the STDs and shit, and the loofahs and the swinger parties. And
for a lot of this, there's about 1.5 million votes cast in Maricopa.
I'm pretty sure that's probably like a group of people, and then there's a bunch of normal people too, but that's the only thing that makes the news.
In 2020, each ballot that gets cast in Arizona has anywhere from 10, 20, maybe 30 different races on it. So imagine trying to hand count 30 million different vote tallies from 1.5 million ballots. It's a monumental effort.
Yeah, he believes this. And he's another person that Trump has fucking stepped on the back of his head so he didn't get in the mud. You know what I'm saying? Like, Trump supported this guy and then threw him to the curb, and this guy's struggling with everything, right? He can't pay his lawsuits. He can't pay the money he bet and lost. He can't afford to finance his shit, and Trump just fucking threw him to the curb again.
One that's almost certainly going to lead to errors, because human beings can't do a repetitive process like that in general anywhere near as capably and dependably as a computer to do it.
Well, let's ask Mike if he even would concede that. I'm curious, Mike, do you agree that the machines in general are more accurate at counting than people?
No, 1,000,000% no. I met with UK officials, France, Belgium, Germany, the Netherlands, met with them all, and we devised the best hand counting system in the world. It was used in Osage County, Missouri in an actual election 2 years ago. Democrats, Republicans working together. We got done at the same time with the machines with 100% accuracy. Now, Argentina, last summer, a judge ruled...
We got done at the same time as machines. Not happening. I mean, you'd have to have a fucking army of people compared to, what, 2 machines?
I said, hey, we got to go to paper ballots, hand count.
By the way, one thing you need to learn when we're watching these election coverage, when we're watching live streams, or watching whatever, and people are going to claim this, most voting machines that scan ballots scan in batches. They're set up that way to get through the votes easier. Instead of putting one in, they scan in batches. Now, these batches could be 6, they could be 50, but they're batches, right? They scan batches and update that. If you have a bad count, a misread, which doesn't happen super often, unless there's something going on with the alignment of the machine or something on one of the cameras. Let's say you have a misread. You don't just stick back in the one ballot that misread. So when we see images of them like taking out like 10 ballots and putting them all back in, that's a misread. It's not going to count a duplicate. It's not going to count it multiple times. There's no way that they're just Joe Biden votes they're running back, or Kamala votes or whatever they're running back through. You have to rerun the entire batch. The whole batch, right? Which may be split 50-50. It may be fucking 90-10. It may be whatever, but you have to rerun the whole batch. Because it doesn't just throw out that one image and say, okay, run number 6 from the second, blah, 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 whatever. it says none of these counted, run them all again. And a lot of times you even see put them in different order because maybe like this camera didn't sync with this mark or whatever. They put them in different order, but it doesn't matter. None of those have been counted until the batch goes through. And when you rerun them, none of them are going to be counted until that batch is approved. So when you see there's a bunch of videos of like, why is she running these over and over again? Well, there's something wrong with the alignment of the machine or whatever, but it's not counting them over and over and over and over and over and over and over again like you're claiming. The batch has to be approved before it gets counted. And that's where we get, and that's when you hear about ballots and then ballot images. Ballots are the things that are printed out that are run through the scanner. Ballot images are the pictures the scanners are taking to show who you voted for, right? That's the difference between ballots and ballot images. So when someone brings up like, oh, well, there's a couple counties that deleted the ballot images in Georgia by accident, and that goes against their law. Sure, that did happen, and those counties have been reprimanded. What didn't happen, though, is we don't have the ballots. We still have the ballots. The ballots have been audited. We know the count was right. They've been hand verified, signature verified. Like, we know that was right. So, yes, a county did delete the ballot images that they were supposed to by law, keep them saved. It's something in their procedure or maybe data went down or whatever. Those counties have been reprimanded. Those counties are going to have somebody watching them, making sure they don't do it wrong this time. That did happen in Georgia, but we still have the ballots. So you can get mad about the ballot images, as you should be. They ought to do it the right way by law, whatever. I don't think they did it maliciously. I think it was an accident. But even if we wanted to go back and say, okay, well, we got to check them one more time, we still have the ballots.
And flipped their country over, and they did it in 4 months, faster than the Netherlands, so it took 5 months. And Taiwan just did it. Ecuador just did it. All these countries have outlawed machines, computers around the world. The Philippines, they've all outlawed them.
So the reason that this, I don't know how else to say this. The reason that these smaller
unblocked drain
and potentially third world countries, or let's say, I don't want to say third world, let's say smaller, less secure countries, all right? We're talking about fucking Ecuador, or we're talking about Taiwan. Why would Taiwan have a push to get rid of election machines? Because there's a concerted effort from other countries. They don't have the security apparatus that we do. They don't have the watchdog groups that we do. They don't have nearly as much transparency as we do. They don't have the three-letter agencies that we do. They don't have the people sitting here monitoring for this. And these are countries that are heavily sometimes targeted by foreign entities. Like China would be the number one place to try to manipulate the vote in Taiwan. So they're trying to secure, and so they don't have the people to watch. They might have people. They don't have the number of people like we do that are watching for integrity, that are watching for hacking, that are watching for foreign actors, that are watching for, shit coming from through the internet, that are watching. We have this whole apparatus set up to watch ours. But Taiwan would be very concerned with China trying to do something.
We just had, and when you talk about, he's using Maricopa County for an example, in the Kerry Lake race, remember, 242 machines went down at the same time, and that was impossible. They're not tied to the internet, so how can they all go down at the same time with the same exact problem? You watched in Georgia this last fall, an Obama-appointed judge, the Curling case, 3.5 years went on. She finally said, you know what? These experts that looked inside these machines say there's problems. We're going to let this case go forward. Haldeman hacked in with a ballpoint pen into the machine and flipped the election, and it's still pending in court right now in Georgia. Speaking of all these things go forward, Haldeman hacked in with a ballpoint pen into the machine and flipped the election.
Are you listening to his claim? Someone named Haldeman hacked the machine with a ballpoint pen and flipped the election. That's a legitimate claim that he has. That a hacker, armed with nothing but a ballpoint pen, hacked the election in Georgia. That's his claim. Yeah, I see. So, I know that's what gets press. If you had a group of 50 old people who were swingers and loofah users and all that shit, that's going to be all over the fucking news when there's 5,000 other people who are just like regular retirees. But I've seen more loofahs and shit on other people's cars that aren't even fucking retirement age, much less. And I don't know if it's a joke or they're really swingers or they think it's funny. I don't know.
And it's still pending in court right now in Georgia. So
Mike, there's so much that you're dumping on us that it's hard to keep up with each one of the claims.
That's his tactic. Now, Pacman has to stop this. That's why Pacman wanted to go step by step, line by line, claim by claim. A lot of the tactics, and you'll see this in my chat, they'll say, oh, there was more votes than there were voters in Pennsylvania. No, that's not true. But before I can even finish explaining that, they're like, well, what about the suitcases underneath the table? Well, what about, this? What about that? Like over and over. What about the ballpoint pen?
Even Republicans in Maricopa, to my knowledge, were satisfied that no one was disenfranchised. But, like, Ken, how do you deal with when Mike goes, they all went down, disconnected from the internet, it's all crazy?
So I would ask, have you looked at what it would take to turn Maricopa County into a hand count county?
Absolutely, we have. We looked at every place in the United States. Remember, we had that prior to 2000. This is what we had, Ken. You don't know what goes on to those black boxes that are sitting there. We just want a fair election.
No, prior to 2000. Oh, yeah. For some reason, I was thinking 2020.
In our community, no matter what.
A hand count wouldn't stop somebody from voting somewhere where they don't live.
Yeah, absolutely, but it would stop them for a computer where one guy can press and change millions of votes or tens of thousands of votes.
But that's not happening. So half the claims he brought up, like people voting out of state or people voting here, people voting there, or people claiming a false address, a hand count wouldn't stop any of that. But it stops one guy from flipping 1 million votes, but that didn't happen. Where? And the number of people who think that the news station that they watch is somehow tied into the voting machines is astonishing to me. When they say, oh, well, there's like this video where this guy was leading by 10,000 votes and it flashes through one time and then, he's losing by 1,000 votes. Yeah, there's a company called Edison Research that pulls numbers from the official databases of the states and sends them to the news so the news doesn't have to go out and get all their numbers from every state, from every precinct, from everything. Occasionally they make typos. But first of all, a bunch of those videos were fake. Second of all, you're saying that they're updating this several times a fucking hour for all these precincts in all these different states. You're saying they can't make a fucking typo and fix it? But that has nothing to do with the machine.
But that wasn't the argument you were making for what took place, though, Mike. That wasn't the argument you were making.
100%. I'm saying that people didn't do this. It was done with computers. You do understand that, David? I'm saying this was the uniparty, deep state, globalist, CCP. People want to know who did this, okay? And yes, it was computers that were used.
It was computers, okay.
Do you know who Tony Fabrizio is, Mike?
No.
He's Trump's pollster. He paid Fabrizio tens of millions of dollars every election, 16, 20. I'm sure he's polling for him now.
Tony Fabrizio.
He exit polled 30,000 swing state voters and asked them who they voted for and why. And what he learned and what he published in a report that everybody can see on Politico.com is that 1 out of 6 of the 30,000 voters his people interviewed were Republicans who ran away from Trump. 1 out of 6. Another 1 out of 6 who voted were first-time voters motivated to vote against Trump. And interestingly, in 2016, roughly 1 out of 6 exit poll voters were motivated for the first time to vote for Trump. So Trump motivated a lot of people to vote for him in 16. And in 2020, I think because of COVID in particular, according to Fabrizio. So what Fabrizio is basically saying is the election was lost largely because rhinos, in effect, didn't vote for Trump after Trump told them to take a long walk off a shore.
So here's the history of voting machines in the United States. In 1881, Anthony Bernack of Chicago created a machine that presented choices for each candidate using the push button. Ever since then, voting machines have continued to use mostly paper ballots. The first major success, punch card voting, came with the invention of the votomatic punch card system in 1965. This system was widely used for many years, though it allegedly affected the outcome of the U.S. presidential election. That was the hanging chads. In the USA, the first heavily marketed voting systems were lever machines, which were based upon Bernack's early machines. Nowadays, it's increasingly common to see Full service voting machine boot. What? Let's see. Computerized. Probably around 2020. That's what Mike Pillow claims. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. It seems like we could do voting a lot better. It seems like we could do voting electronically where you never had to go there, you never had to mail anything, you never had to do anything like that, but voting, internet voting to select a presidential candidate. The election is the first governmental election to use this method. At least the universal standard computerized vote. In 1990, the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, released a universalized standard for computerized voting. So it was way before 2000. If they're putting out guidelines on universalized standard for computerized voting in 1990, it was definitely before 2000. That was 10 years. They were putting out the guide for it. They revised it in 2002.
Sure.
Okay, where's your question here? Where's your question?
Well, so what I'm giving you is some hard evidence that
that's not hard evidence. That's not hard evidence. Well, let me see. Who is this guy? I don't get to see what his poll. I give you hard evidence. You say, well, let me look into it. I don't see it. I don't know this.
You should look into it. If you Google for
what's the question?
Well,
I can't tell you how many things I've had to like scan my driver's license for, right? Scanning my driver's license, fill out forms, send pictures of this, blah, 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 to verify different banking and, electronic record. If I can do all that, I'm pretty sure we could figure out a way to do it from our phones. And if someone somehow hacks or steals or cheats your vote, you would get an update that you voted in the U.S. election or your state election or whatever. Was it you? Type yes or no. If it wasn't you, someone would contact you and get to the bottom of it and remedy your vote.
I believe that so I have 3 data points for you. The first one is his poll, which identified that the reason for the loss was the loss of Republican support from Republicans in the middle. Raffensperger, who I know you don't give a lot of credence to, but he identified 30,000 Republican primary voters in 2020 who didn't vote in the presidential election. And another 30,000 votes were cast in Georgia in 2020, where all the down-ticket Republicans received a vote, but the presidential race was left blank. And the margin of victory, as we all know, was just under 12,000 votes in Georgia. When I looked at county-level statistics from every county in the country, and you look at red states and you look at blue states and you look at red and blue counties, purple counties, on average, when you look at Trump's share of the vote as a percent of all the votes that were cast, Trump did about 2.5%.
I don't think you can do electronic fingerprinting or electronic verification of anything because we had a palm scanner to scan into work one time. Fingerprint, palm, face scan. I've scanned in a bunch of work, a bunch of jobs, different ways. And you wouldn't believe the number of people that think it's like the fucking mark of the beast or something and protest and quit and fucking set out. And I don't know if you could do any type of electronic scanning of people. But, maybe it could be an option. If you want to vote paper ballot, you can request it. You want to vote a machine, you can request it. If you want to, whatever, you request it.
But he identified 30,000 Republican primary voters in 2020 who didn't vote in the presidential election. And another 30,000 votes were cast in Georgia in 2020, where all the down-ticket Republicans received a vote, but the presidential race was left blank. And
imagine that. Imagine you stirred people up in such a way that in Georgia, 30,000 votes would not vote for a president at all and only voted down-ballot Republican. And then he's whining about Georgia, telling the governor to find him the 11,000 votes.
The margin of victory, as we all know, was just under 12,000 votes in Georgia. When I looked at county-level statistics from every county in the country, and you look at red states and you look at blue states and you look at red and blue counties, purple counties, on average, when you look at Trump's share of the vote as a percent of all the votes that were cast, Trump did about 2.5% less well across the country in 2020 than he did
across the board.
2016. This is my data. 2020 than he did in 2016.
That's right. You just validated the skim. That's right.
Right. Mike's argument is this was done in every state to hide the states where it mattered.
Everywhere.
Well,
they did it everywhere just so you wouldn't notice it in the swing states.
So that's bananas. And the reason I say it's bananas is because, first of all, most states have different voting systems than every other state, and many times counties have different voting systems. So to have a consistent...
What do you mean different voting systems? Do you know that all the computers that they run up a thing called GEMS, and ES&S is the biggest computer company in the country that runs our elections?
Yeah,
out of Omaha, Nebraska, they are the biggest machine company. They haven't sued me yet. I'll pile them right on the pile which would be fine. I want to ask you this. Let me ask something here. How do you explain? Let's talk about crooked Brad Rassenberg. If you're a Democrat in Georgia and you plan on winning, for me, this isn't about Democrats or Republicans or Donald Trump. My whole life, since the spring of 21, that Jimmy Kimmel asked me, Mike, if the shoe was on the other foot and Donald Trump was selected like you say Biden was, would you still be sounding the alarm? And I said, yes, I would. And everybody knows I would. It doesn't matter. I think it's a blessing that Donald Trump, they did take it then, because what we've learned now in the last 3 years, in Georgia, in the summer of 22, 3 Democrats, this nice lady, her and her husband got 0 votes in her own precinct. Now how do you explain that? You can't. My question for Ken, how do you explain, I'm here to tell you that this was in every state. It was in every state, every county. And you're saying, well, they have different systems. No, they don't. They all run off.
Can you have...
Yes, and yes, we have the same ballot.
Could you potentially get 0 votes in your own precinct? Yeah.
Images that came out of Mesa County, Colorado.
Imagine your own husband doesn't vote for you.
Came out of Smartmatic.
So how does he explain it? How does he explain it is the question.
No, I'm explaining to you because they're on the internet. They're all horizontal. Okay, they're all horizontal. ES&S was with me. Their owners were with me at a Senate hearing in Louisiana, and they were asked, "Are your machines more secure than Dominion's?" They said, "Absolutely not. They all have back doors. They're all hackable." Now they're horizontal hackable. Just because I have a computer at my pillow, one's a Dell and one's an Apple, they can be connected through the internet.
ES&S is, we looked into a bunch of these claims when Dominion popped up. ES&S is like a proprietary software that's used for voting. It stands for Electronic Systems and Software or something is the name of the company. They do a lot of data, heavy data stuff.
Okay. So Ken, how do you explain that, I guess?
Yeah. So I'm dealing with a lot of moving goalposts here. So
yeah, I know.
I'm struggling with trying to keep up and to, again, trying to do something productive in what we talk about. So
let me frame it this way, Ken.
I have 2 things to say. First one is, it's really difficult and frustrating to bring out pretty hard facts, like I just did with Raffensperger's facts, Fabrizio's facts, my facts, and they're sort of brushed off, and what you're presented with are more hearsay type things that don't necessarily have the solid evidence, recreatable evidence that you need to survive legal scrutiny that you have to have. And the story that I'll tell you is that in my engagement with the Trump campaign, which started off with just find us the dead voters, find us the people who voted twice. And what the lawyers who I reported to quickly appreciated that we really understood what we were doing and that we were thorough. And they asked us to start performing their due diligence on the claims of voter fraud that were pouring in from all over the country. And we did that. And we were asked to basically vet each claim.
So basically, Trump had all these people saying, I saw cheaters, I saw this, they did this over here. He was getting these emails, they were texting. I think they set up a hotline at one time for people to sign affidavits. And so all those claims that had anything to do with computers or electronics went to this guy. He vetted the claims. Can they potentially be true? Would this make a difference? But they went through every claim. All of them were bullshit.
And if it stood up and would survive legal scrutiny, they were going to go to court with it. If it didn't stand up, they weren't going to take it to court because they didn't want to be involved with false claims and bringing forward bad data into court. We looked at 20 claims from across the country. Every one of them was false, oftentimes because whoever did the analysis didn't fully understand what they were looking at. A claim of 750,000 duplicate votes cast in Wisconsin. Well, they missed all the online votes, all the in-person votes, and that was the difference. We had a whole bunch of claimed duplicate votes, deceased votes, where people matched on names and addresses and dates of birth and said, hey, it's a match, it's got to be the same. Well, it's not the same guy, and it usually isn't much more than it is. And some of the claims were just...
So like 2 votes from John Smith or 100 votes from John Smith, and I know John Smith, he's my neighbor, he died. How did he vote?
Bonkers out the gate and would never have survived because they had no data behind them at all, nothing recreatable, hearsay evidence, which no judge in the country is going to allow, right? So that's what we dealt with in November of 2020. And I was up pretty much the whole month as well, Mike, dealing with all that. And, it's hard to have a conversation where, you're looking at it, you're trying to deal with it scientifically, you're trying to deal with it with credible, recreatable evidence. And one of my favorite saying is actual fraud is detectable, verifiable, and quantifiable, right? You got to have those 3 pieces in order to be able to bring data into court successfully and not get bounced out on your rear end. So, that's really where I came at from it. And look, I believe strongly that we can and should be doing much better. I'm not so much focused on the actual execution of collecting votes on election day as I am on voter registration, the dirty data that sits around all of that sort of stuff. I believe we can and should do it much better than we do. And I think that's the most productive place for everybody to turn our attentions to try to increase our election integrity moving forward.
Mike, I've got a question for you, and this might require a little soul searching. Let me get the question out, and then you can take it wherever you want.
Okay, all right.
You had, at least for a period after the 2020 election, what we might call access to the former president, Donald Trump, at least to some degree, if not directly, it seems to be reported at least indirectly. Why do you think that the guy who had the biggest incentive to find the most direct path to identifying the fraud, why did he take Ken's word for it rather than yours, if the case you're making is so convincing?
You know, David, you'd have to ask him that. But I will say this is I look at the 2020 that it didn't get overturned back then because I believe we would have lost our country forever if it would have been flipped back to Donald Trump. And I say that with all sincerity because of so much we have found over the last 3 years. And now we can be proactive. You fix things like my company. In 2012, we took in $100 million, but we were $6 million in the hole, employee-owned company. But we learned from that. We pulled it all in-house. We took apart what went wrong, deals that went wrong, betrayal, all these things. And by the way, if you want to help my company today, you can use promo code David or Batman. The last time I was on your show, they all wanted a deal. But I will say this is my company. You know, we've been attacked by all these machine companies, and you kind of wonder why are they still attacking me now when obviously we're not going to overturn the 2020 election.
And I haven't heard anybody come out against like measures to prevent like electronic manipulation. I understand the argument about like fucking you got to have this ID, you got to have that ID. North Carolina kind of ruined that for a lot of people because they specifically did a study to see which ID like minorities had less of, or had which IDs they were more likely to ID with, and then try to outlaw them. That was fucked up. Of course, that wasn't going to go through.
I quit. That ship sailed a long time ago. I'm going, this opened the crack of going, hey, we've got some serious problems, and it's with these computers. And what I'm doing now, being proactive, we're going to request that everyone in the country at LindalePlan.com that they go there and they request their mail-in ballot, even if they're going to vote earlier or day of, they request their mail-in ballot. Then if they get there on whenever they vote and they say, I'm sorry, you've already voted, now we have evidence that everybody can understand. Do you agree, Ken, that would be identity theft? If I got there and someone said, I'm sorry, Ken, you've already voted.
I don't know if that works, Mike. I'll let Ken address it, but it seems that if you request such a ballot but don't turn it in, you're still allowed to vote on Election Day. So, Ken, would that be the ironclad way to find fraud that Mike thinks it is?
You have to, now you're dealing with the rules and regulations that every state and sometimes every county puts on top of it. And that's one of the things that makes giving an answer here very difficult to do because you're probably going to be wrong in some places. Generally speaking, if you have requested a mail ballot, you are expected to turn that mail ballot in with you when you go to vote in person. That's correct.
That's correct. And if they say you've already voted, then you can say, no, I haven't. It's right here in my hand. That's what we're saying. It's a very easy way to say if there's something wrong. If my name was used, I'm protecting my name from the voter rolls. Yep. They can't use my name because this happened in the 2020, especially the 2022 election in some places. In Democrats in Kansas, we're getting their votes were getting flipped to Republican in Kansas. And my teams were on the ground. And I said, you know what? They couldn't say, you've already voted. I said, they say, no, we haven't voted. But having that mail-in ballot in your hand, that's kind of a good evidence. No, I haven't. It's right here. And
let's talk about the mail-in ballots a little bit, and then we're going to kind of be getting to the last thing here. You know, Mike, I saw a video where you seemed a little bit rattled after Donald Trump did a 180 from the 2020. This is total fraud, even though he voted by mail. Mail-in is bad, early is bad, absentee is bad. Then Trump, I think, realizing that he needed to say something different. This year, he said, vote however the hell you can. I saw a video of you, Mike, where you seemed quite rattled and suggested sort of that it is this backdoor way to find the fraud or whatever. Bottom line, Mike, and then I want to hear from Ken. Do you believe that absentee, vote by mail, and early voting inherently increase what you define as fraud?
You absolutely, you should vote same day, and that would ideally same day, paper ballots, hand counted, precinct level. I have said that, I will never get off. It's hard for them to steal that day. Now, when I'm going, well, the RNC and all of them came up and the president, they said, well, vote any way you can. We're going to, too big to rig is what he called it. Now, too big to rig. I'm saying that people are going to do that. This is what I'm encouraging people to do. At least protect your name, get that mail-in ballot, get your ballot so that you have it. And then when you go to vote in person, maybe you can't vote the day up, but you go vote in person. And if they say you've already voted, they're going to download them to my app, which is Frank Social, my election app, and we're going to take all this evidence.
You've got an app for everything, Mike.
Absolutely. We got, this is where my thing is. I want to save our country.
Okay, so your answer to this question.
Whether you are David Pakman or Mike Lindell, whatever you're at in politics, remember, I never was a Democrat or Republican. I was an ex-crack cocaine addict. I had never voted in my life.
I gotcha. So Mike, but right so your answer is, yes, the mail-in leads to fraud, but protect yourself by requesting your mail-in ballot. Ken, systemically, is there evidence that anything other than voting on Election Day in person increases what we define as fraud in elections?
So it is a fact that it's harder to commit voter fraud voting in person than it is voting by mail, where you do so anonymously and in a great many states without showing any real identification that really helps everybody.
Yeah, maybe a lot of Americans' name, birth date, social security numbers may have been lost in that big hack.
Sure that the person who cast the vote is the person who should have cast the vote. Looking at voters, see, to me, if we're talking about something we can do to fix the biggest problem we have in elections, I think the biggest problem we have is that we have 50 different states doing voter registration.
So in North Carolina, they wanted to, I can explain it. Hold on. So in North Carolina, they wanted to make it a requirement to have a voter ID law, okay? And they got together to meet about this and write this voter ID law. And they went through what are acceptable IDs, okay? Well, driver's license. Well, what about if the city issues this or if a state issued something? So, like, what if it's not a driver's license, but it's a regular ID? What if it's not a driver's license, but it's a student ID? What if it's a fucking library card? What if it's an NC dot bus pass that's issued by the state? Because you can't, if you're going to say state IDs, there's a whole lot of IDs that may be issued by a department of the state that are not exactly a driver's license, okay? With this, they, that's not the reason for mail-in ballots. The reason for mail-in ballots is because we're going through a fucking pandemic and making it easier. Republicans are always against reasons to make it easier to vote because they'll lose. Anyways, they went down the list of what they should supply and what they didn't. So they hired a company. They hired a pollster or a research company to look up what they had it segregated by race. What IDs were most commonly used in place of state IDs? By state IDs, right? And through this, they found that black voters used certain types of IDs way more than white voters. And just out of complete coincidence, those are all the IDs they wanted to rule out as being legal. So here's the story. I may have it wrong, but here it is from NPR. North Carolina judges strike down the state's latest voter identification law on Friday, agreeing with minority voters that Republicans rammed through rules tainted by racial bias to remain in power. 2 of the 3 trial judges declared that the December 2018 law is unconstitutional, even though it's designed to implement voter ID mandate added by the North Carolina Constitution and referendum just weeks earlier. They said the law intentionally discriminates against black voters, violating their equal rights. This law was motivated in least part by unconstitutional intent to target African-American voters. Superior Court judges Michael Fagaluda and Vincent Rosier wrote in their 100-page majority opinion. Other less restrictive voter ID laws would have sufficed to achieve the legitimate non-racial purposes of implementing the constitutional amendment requiring voter ID, deterring fraud, enhancing voter confidence. The majority decision, which was followed by a 3-week trial in April, is now likely headed to state appeals court, which had previously blocked the law's enforcement last year. While the case is heard, the law remains unenforceable with this rule. With a similar lawsuit in federal court set to go to trial in January, another state court lawsuit now on appeal, it's looking more unlikely that a voter ID mandate for in-person absentee balloting will happen in the 2022 election. The ruling reflects how the state's Republican-controlled legislature undeniably implemented this legislation to maintain its power by targeting voters of color, said Allison Riggs, the plaintiff's lead attorney. Spokesperson for Republicans' legislative leaders, House Speaker Tim Moore, and Senate leader Phil Berger didn't immediately respond for email requests for comment. GOP legislative leaders have tried for over a decade to require photo IDs to cast ballots. Republicans have said voter ID laws need to build public confidence in elections and to prevent voter fraud, which remains rare nationwide, but many Democrats see the mandates as attempts to voter suppression. In July 2016, a federal court struck down several portions of 2013 North Carolina election law that included voter ID mandates, saying GOP lawmakers had written them with almost surgical precision to discourage voting by black voters who tend to support Democrats. Lawyers for the voters who sued the 2018 law said it suffered the same racial defects in the 2013 law, following a long effort by North Carolina elected officials to weaken African-American voting as a way to remain in control of the General Assembly. The 2013 law was carried out briefly in 2016 primary elections. GOP leaders and their attorneys disagreed, saying the latest ID rules were approved with substantial Democratic support and improved to retain ballot access while ensuring only legal citizens can vote. The categories of qualifying IDs were greatly expanded compared to the 2013 law to include college student and government employee IDs. Free IDs also are available from county elections boards or early voting sites, and people without IDs can still vote if they fill out a form for voting precincts. In a dissenting opinion, Judge Nathaniel Poovey wrote that the passage of the voter ID law falls in line with the state constitution, citing the support from several black legislators and the citizens voting for the constitutional referendum. Competence evidence before the three judges panel does not suggest our legislator enacted this law with racially discriminatory intent, but the majority of the panel decided that the changes didn't eliminate fully the racial bias and permanently blocked enforcement of the ID law. About 36 states have laws requesting or requiring voters to show some form of identification at the polls, and about half of these states want photo ID only, according to National Conference for State Legislators. A provision contained in the sweeping federal overhaul of elections pushed this year by congressional Democrats would effectively neuter state voter ID laws by allowing people without an ID to sign a form at the polls instead. So you have to, they're saying the new law would, you're supposed to have a photo ID, but you can still sign a form. Yeah, let him finish this while I'm reading.
In 50 different ways, oftentimes not coordinating with each other, doing it differently, doing it poorly in a lot of cases, and some places do it better than others, right? I think we should have a federal voter registration, one place. If you do it that way, we don't have the mistakes of 50 people, right? We don't have any of that problem.
There you go. Here's the part I wanted to get to it. The federal court in Richmond found that the primary purpose of North Carolina's law wasn't to stop voter fraud. There was only 31 cases of voter impersonation out of over 1 billion votes cast in the United States since 2000. It says, wasn't to stop voter fraud, was rather to disenfranchise minority voters. So judges found that the provisions target African Americans with almost surgical precision. I read that part. It says, in particular, the court found that North Carolina lawmakers requested data on racial differences in voting behaviors in the state, including the IDs that they use. This data showed that African Americans disproportionately lacked the most common kind of photo ID, those issued by the Department of Motor Vehicles, and they tried to eliminate so they requested this data, and then when the data says, okay, well, black voters overwhelmingly use these IDs, that's the ones they wanted to eliminate.
If you do it federally, you now have an identifier that everybody would have to use when they vote by mail.
Well, this is from WAPO. This is from the Washington Post. You can't make a judge ruling's bias.
You don't like that idea, though, Mike?
No, that would be insane. That's probably the most insane idea. We need to decentralize it down to the precinct level where you're down to your own community.
The legislators made it so that the only acceptable forms of voter identifications were the ones disproportionately used by white people. With the race data in hand, the legislature amended the bill to exclude many alternate photo IDs used by African Americans specifically. The judges wrote, the bill retained only the kinds of IDs that white North Carolinians were more likely to possess and ruled out the others.
Where you see yourself vote. That's what needs to be done the way it was before. Sometimes the best things are done by hand.
So because they've done this now, and this is a huge news story that went all the way to fucking state Supreme Court and shit, that they've kind of ruined this. So now when anybody else brings it up, the first thing that pops in their mind is, oh, well, are they going to segment, or which voter IDs are they going to use? Are they going to do like North Carolina did?
And you know the people at that level. You do it at the federal level. Now you have one machine. It's just like all of our UACAVA votes now. All of our UACAVA votes are done by mail-in. There's no IDs whatsoever. This is our military. We have places like in Idaho or in Utah where they try texting in your vote and texting or emailing in your vote. Now, come on. You have a federal thing there. You're going to trust one person now on these computers. Okay, we're supposed to trust that. Why not trust in our own backyard at the precinct level and do it at that level?
What about that, Ken? What about the single point of failure of that?
There's no single point.
No, I'm asking Ken. Does Ken agree that there's a single place where this could
go? Here's the last quote I'll read. Most strikingly, the judges points to a smoking gun in North Carolina's justification for the law. It says the data showed that voters were more likely to make use of early voting, particularly the first 7 days out. The first 7 days out of North Carolina's 17-day voting period. So lawmakers eliminated those 7 days. So the data showed also not just the IDs, but that black voters use early voting, and the heaviest black early voting was the first 7 days out of the 17-day period. So they eliminated those 7 days of voting. After receipt of this racial data, the General Assembly amended the bill to eliminate the first week of early voting, shortening the total early voting period from 17 to 10 days. Most strikingly, the judge points to a smoking gun in North Carolina's justification for the law, proving discriminatory intent. The state argued in court that counties with Sunday voting in 2014 were disproportionately black and disproportionately Democrat, and said that it did away with Sunday voting as a result. So the state argued in court that counties with Sunday voting on Sundays, because some people work 6 days a week, were disproportionately black and disproportionately Democrat, so they voted specifically to take Sunday voting off completely. Thus, in what comes close to a smoking gun, as we're likely to see in modern times, the state's very justification for a challenge statute hinges explicitly on race. Specifically, it's concerned that African Americans who had overwhelmingly voted for Democrats had too much access to the franchise. This is about as clear-cut an indictment of discriminatory underpinnings of voter ID laws as you will find anywhere. Studies have already shown a significant link between support for voter ID and racial discrimination among both lawmakers and white voters in general.
Wrong.
So, my question to both of you is, do you trade stocks?
No, I hold low-cost index funds for a really long time.
Mike, do you trade stocks at all?
I used to.
Okay. Do you trust those?
I ran out of money.
Do you trust those?
Absolutely not. If there was something wrong, I would check it. I would have a way to check it. You can't trust computers. There can be mistakes in all computers.
You don't have a way to check it. If there was something wrong, I would have a way to check it. What do you mean? You own stocks. You probably have a bunch of stocks. What do you mean? Absolutely not. If something's wrong, I would check it. Okay.
Tell you something, when our election, when there's a hack or a breach in computers or a mistake, it can be, you hack in, you get people, you fix it, you have better control, you fix the hack, and then your insurance covers it. It's a money thing. When it happens in our elections, you can lose all your freedoms. That's the difference, and we should not be using them. I would not trust any computer in our elections ever again, knowing what I know now. You can't do that.
So, what makes this so incredibly difficult?
Yes.
Is I think Mike believes that Trump's voter fraud investigator, me, Trump's pollster, Fabrizio, and Secretary of State Raffensperger, all three of us who, using different methodologies and using different data sets completely, all were able to show that the reason for the election loss wasn't fraud at all. It was literally the loss of moderate support from Republicans.
He turned a lot of moderates away.
That caused the loss, because it was a narrow loss, and there's not that many rhinos, let's face it, but those rhino votes mattered in the close races. Mike keeps claiming his basic premise is fraud is everywhere. There are small amounts of fraud everywhere. There is no evidence at all that massive amounts of fraud were everywhere. I gave that message to the top Trump campaign attorney that I reported to, Alex Cannon. He brought it to Mark Meadows, who, in response to the
I think North Carolina thought, when the state's attorneys, I don't know what they thought. They just basically admitted that they eliminated Sundays because it was black and Democrats. And then you thought that was going to fly.
Finding, hey, we looked and just didn't find any fraud to change the results. His answer was, well, that means there's no there, referring to the claims of voter fraud being relatively empty.
Too bad all the evidence proves that he's wrong. Good try, though. You look like a fucking retard here.
So I get your zeal, Mike, for solving a problem. The problem is you have to make sure the problem exists before you go to.
Well, that's what I think.
Wait, hold on.
Hold on, we're giving Ken the last word here. We're giving Ken the last word.
You have to, before you go to extremes, like we're going to roll back computers and go back to the stone.
Wrong. So you're saying a fucking 80-year-old lady who does fucking mailed in her vote, but then she couldn't remember if she mailed it or not, then she shows up and votes at a machine, that's treason? You're fucking retarded. Even small amounts are treasonous. Gotcha.
Age in terms of counting votes. You better have solid evidence that there's a problem and you haven't shown me that evidence. It has to be verifiable, quantifiable, and I haven't seen it, and I'm happy if you want to deliver me a whole bunch of stuff, I'll go through it. But to go there without having the evidence, I believe is dangerous, and it's leading us on a conversation that moves us away from addressing the things that we really should be fixing.
Gentlemen, listen, Mike, I'm so sorry.
All you have to do is go to frankspeech.com.
The evidence you claim is there. I gotcha.
It's all sitting there.
I gotcha. Mike.
Record. This is about a lady that got 0 votes in her own precinct, you guys.
All right, we're going to look at it. At some point,
I didn't realize that DeSantis came out and said that he would make sure, because he sits on the head of the board of the Reformation for felons to vote, that he would make sure that Trump could vote in Florida. Talking about bias. Rules for thee, but not for me. Damn.
Conversation must come to an end. Ken, real quick, you don't want to melt down the machines to turn them into prison bars the way Mike wants to do, right?
I think that we would find that it would be incredibly difficult to do our elections by hand. It would take far longer than we.
If you're asking for hand counts and paper ballots, all you're asking for is more discrepancy. More discrepancy. Every fucking time we do this and we let people count them, we let machines count them, machines are more accurate. So you want more variance, more miscounted votes, more wrong numbers?
You think? And who's to say that those people who are counting late at night aren't going to make their own errors? So,
not to mention, we have better ways at this point of making prison bars than melting machines down, I would say.
Exactly.
Listen, gentlemen, Ken Block, Mike Pillow Lindell, you really said it all. I hope that the audience
Mike Pillow Lindell
gained some insights here, and I really do appreciate you joining me.
Promo code David Pack.
Your mom's traitorous treason and should be sentenced to death, Jessa. That's all I've got to say. Kristen Ferguson won me over.
I haven't tried, nor am I in a position. I would say.
Exactly.
Listen, gentlemen, Ken Block, Mike Pillow Lindell, you really said it all. I hope that the audience gained some insights here, and I really do appreciate you joining me.
Promo code David Pac-Man.
I haven't tried, nor am I in a position to endorse any of Mike's products at this point.
I would certainly send you some. You gotta give me your address, David. You got the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mike, it's really nice meeting you, and David, thank you for the opportunity.
I had a guy one time. Here's a funny story. I had a guy one time reach out to me, post 2020 election, I think, and he was doing some crazy fucking streams at the time, and it just turned out that one of the guys he had streamed with for a long time ended up being a fucking convicted pedophile, and everybody found out about it. So he was, to his credit, he was one that separated from him. He's like, I didn't know that shit. As soon as I found out, I told him, fuck him, I'm done. You know, I'm not streaming with this convicted fucking pedo. Even though it's like 20 years ago. It's like with an 11-year-old boy, his neighbor's son or some shit. It was fucked up. But anyways, he did separate from him. But he used to send me emails all the time and say this and come on your show, whatever. But I clearly didn't agree with him. And he's like, well, you don't know this, but I got it in with Mike Lindell. I got it in with Mike Lindell. I got it in with, I can get him to sponsor you. I can get him to sponsor you. I can get him to sponsor you. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. You know, me and Mike Lindell are not on the same page. I don't even know if I want to promote his pillow. And he's like, well, you just got to hop on a call with me. You got to hop on a call. Could be big money. Could be big money. You got to hop on a call with me and my guy at My Pillow. My guy at My Pillow. My guy, I got it in. Mike Lindell knows me well. I've talked to him a couple times. He'll make you a good deal, I promise. So finally, he convinced me to call him. And I called in and he three-wayed me with this guy. And he's like, I was like, I don't think Mike Lindell's going to sponsor me. If he's seen the shows I've done on him, not happening. And I didn't realize the guy was on three-way. And he's like, the guy was already on three-way. And he's like, oh, we value different opinions, blah, blah, blah. We can do this. We can get you set up, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so it's a sponsorship deal. And he's like, yeah, in a roundabout way, which is my first sign. Like, what the fuck? A roundabout way. Like, sponsorships are this. You offer a rate. I'm so small. Like, typically, I would have my rate. If companies were coming to me left and right, I would have a rate. Say I do, $5,000 for sponsorship or whatever. But where I'm so small, companies typically offer rates after looking at my numbers, right? So they say, well, we'll give you $200, $500, $700 guarantee, and then so much off this, so much off that. That's fucking sponsorships. Anyways, this guy's name, I think it was Jeff. He's like, the other guy was hopping him up, like, Jeff, tell him what all you can do for him. Tell him what all you can do for him. Turns out this whole fucking, that I sat there for like an hour and talked to this stupid guy. The whole thing was an affiliate agreement and a free pillow. I could have signed up on the website for the affiliate agreement. The one thing that I would have got out of it was a free fucking pillow. And he's hyping this up. He's like, I made a lot of money off of it. I did this, I did that. But all it was is the same as Amazon, right? You click the link, and if you use my link, they'll send me fucking like three. It was no guarantee, no base pay, no ad read, no nothing. It was just a link that had it was like mypillow.com/cold beer or CBC or whatever. That's all it was. And this guy built this son of a bitch up for like 5 months. I didn't even want to do it. And then finally, he got me, and there was no guarantee, no base rate, no base pay. They didn't care how many viewers I had. They didn't care about my numbers. They didn't care how many subscribers I had. Just throw your link out there. If somebody buys it, we'll send you $1. Get the fuck out of here. with that shit. Not to promote Mike Pillow. God damn. Anyways, and I get to support someone who loves Americans and wants to fix our drug problems. Who do you think loves America? You mean loves power? How many people you know loves Americans that would try a hostile takeover of our election system? Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for being here. I'm Will Barr. We're back, Cold Break Confessional. I'm going to try to get in here earlier. I've been doing a lot of work, or been busy at work, I guess. I'm going to try to get in here earlier. We have another Patreon show coming up this week. That'll be patrons only, no Twitch subscribers. It'll be patrons only for the upper tiers of Patreon. Maybe we'll try to do it towards the end of the week, or maybe over this weekend. We'll come and hang out. We'll figure something out. But thank you guys for joining us. Consider supporting the show. We're offline at coldbreak.fund, or just send people to watch this. If it gets views, it's going to make money. So anytime you can help me out with that. If you can't afford to donate, want to make a contribution, go to coldbeer.fund. That's this website where the background's kind of broken right now. It used to be purple, but you can go there, and all my links are there. Buy me a coffee, Patreon, everything's there if you want to make a contribution. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being here. Thank you to the new subscribers, and we'll see everybody on the next one. Have a good night. My website's taking absurdly long to load. There it is. So all the links are here. Buy me a coffee, join Patreon, Gun and Bomber Animation, and just a silent, no alert PayPal link that a lot of people use. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly.
Trump doesn't even support Mike Lindell anymore.
You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like fool in a thong.
Have a good night, guys.
Beating this chest like
Support the show while we're offline. Support the show while we're live. Support the show at some point. That's how we pay the bills around here. If you like the show, it's cheaper than cable.
eating lizard people, aliens.
And I don't have to go to Q Streaming or Mike Pillow to get some money.
Climbing up 5G towers, cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get